10 p.m. Tareth City. In a dark, foul-smelling alley that no one bothered to walk through, a young man sat slumped against a stained wall, blood pouring from the wound on his head. He stayed there motionless, head hanging low, his shallow breaths sounding like they could stop at any moment. He wanted to shout for help, but his body wouldn't move. Even lifting a finger felt impossible. As he waited for death to claim him, despair wrapped tighter around his heart. And beneath that despair, hatred burned. Even on the verge of death, his eyes were still full of venom, as if he wanted to gnaw his enemies' bones and drink their blood. But the light in those eyes slowly faded, duller, darker, until they turned completely gray. His breathing stopped. He was dead, outside the alley. The city carried on as usual. Crowds moved. Lights flickered. The world didn't pause just because one young man died. Then suddenly his fingers twitched. The fatal wound on his head, along with the bruises and cuts all over his body, began to close at an unnatural speed. Flesh knitted, blood vanished, and in just a moment, his body was completely healed. His eyes snapped open. Well, where is this? The young man looked around in confusion. The hatred and despair from before were gone, replaced by unease and panic. What the hell? Where am I? Wait, blood. Fuck. He cursed when he saw the dried blood on his hands and clothes. What the hell is going on? Ack. A sharp pain stabbed through his skull like he'd just been hit with a hammer. He grabbed his head with both hands, teeth clenched, face twisted in agony. Cold sweat poured down his face in thick beads. Thankfully, the pain didn't last long. Less than a minute later, it faded. Breathing hard, he leaned back against the cold wall, chest rising and falling. In that moment, everything clicked. He remembered. His name was Noan, a normal 25-year-old office worker from Earth. He remembered standing in the elevator. The sudden jolt, the feeling of weightlessness, and then nothing. Fuck. Noan cursed inwardly. Who the hell installed that elevator? The building had been open for less than 3 years, and yet the elevator cable snapped. He didn't know if he should call himself lucky or unlucky that he was the only one in the elevator at the time. That aside, the brutal headache a moment ago had forced his new memories to settle. The owner of this body was also named Noan, but this world's Noan was only 20 years old. The reason this Noan died was complicated. First of all, this wasn't Earth. This was a completely different world. Its science and technology were far more advanced than Earth's. Yet the way society worked was bizarre. Here, every citizen studied for 12 years, and after turning 18, they were required to spend 2 more years learning how to become a lord. Yes, a lord. This world was filled with countless portals leading to other lands. In those lands, people became lords, gathered resources, raised armies, and developed their own territories. No one knew when those portals appeared or who created them, but everyone knew one thing. If you had the qualifications to become a lord, you had a chance to become part of the top 0.1% of the population and change your fate. Poor? Didn't matter. Even the lowest-ranked lord could live comfortably for life. Ugly? Didn't matter. Once you became a lord, beauties would line up to cling to you. The catch? You had to be within that 0.1% who had the potential to become a lord. And that didn't depend on talent, status, or intelligence. It depended purely on luck. Noan was one of the lucky ones. He had the potential to become a lord. Even though he was only a Rank F Lord, the very bottom of the ladder, he had been satisfied with that. But reality was crueler than he imagined. And the problem started with his family. His family had 4 people: his parents, himself, and his younger brother. Ever since he was young, Noan had always felt like an outsider in his own home. His parents only cared about his younger brother. They pampered him, protected him, gave him everything. Noan, on the other hand, was ignored and left to fend for himself. When his younger brother grew up and got hooked on gambling, he racked up massive debts. So their parents turned to Noan. They ordered him to pay it back. And Noan agreed. Noan felt his blood boil at that memory. He couldn't understand why the old Noan had accepted such a ridiculous burden. The old Noan went to school by day and worked part-time by night. But no matter how hard he tried, it was never enough to pay off his brother's debts. Then, a week ago, everything changed. After taking the test, Noan was chosen as one of the rare people with the potential to become a lord. Even if it was only rank F, that was already a huge blessing. The old Noan had been so happy that he'd gone to sleep with a smile on his face. He thought that once he told his parents, they would finally be proud of him, that they would be happy their family now had a lord, that his younger brother would be relieved, since a lord could easily earn enough to pay off the debts. But instead, they were furious. Yes, furious. They shouted at him, asking why he was the one who got so lucky instead of his younger brother. The old Noan couldn't understand it. Shouldn't they be celebrating? Didn't this mean the family's future had just turned around? But his parents were filled with jealousy and resentment. They kicked him out of the house. His younger brother blamed everything on him and dumped all the debt onto Noan's head. So the debt collectors came. They dragged him into this alley and beat him to death. Because old Noan had grown up neglected, his body was frail. Under the fists and kicks of the thugs, his life ended quickly. Fortunately, the soul of the new Noan from Earth arrived and took over this dying body. A second chance at life. Noan exhaled slowly. He really wanted to take the old Noan's place and make those three pay. But reality again. Even if he was a lord, his rank was still only F. The lowest. Earning money and living comfortably might be possible. But revenge? That was a different story. Fuck. Noan complained inwardly. If you're going to ice-sky me, at least give me some good talent or a decent family. I get thrown into a new world with trash talent and an ungrateful family. What kind of hell difficulty mode is this? Can't you give me a little help? As he grumbled, he suddenly felt a strange pulse. Instinctively, he pulled out his Lord card. The Lord card was proof of his status as a lord. It looked like an ID card, covered in strange symbols and characters. A Rank F Lord card was usually gray and dull, but right now, his card was shrouded in a faint black aura. In front of him, a sci-fi-like information panel appeared, revealing his details. Name, Van Noan. Lord Rank F. Lord Level, 01. Description, Rank F Lord. Able to summon Rank F units, skeletons. Can summon 10 skeletons per day. Note, the higher the Lord's level, the more soldiers he can summon. So far, everything looked the same as old Noan remembered. But then, new text slowly formed at the bottom of the panel. Noan watched as the words came into focus. Talent. Almighty Fusion. Rank SSS. Description 1. You can fuse 3 soldiers of the same rank to create 1 soldier of a higher rank. Description 2. You can use multiple high-rank soldiers to increase the rank of a hero you summon. Description 3. Soldiers or heroes who undergo fusion will receive the evolution mark. Evolution mark. Units who bear this mark gain a 10% increase to their overall strength. The more soldiers and heroes with the evolution mark you possess, the stronger your overall lord power becomes. Noan stared at the panel, stunned. This was his compensation. The gift from the gods for everything he'd gone through. Last week, after old Noan completed the ritual to become a lord, he was allowed to perform a second ritual to receive his talent. Normally, the talent a person received would match their lord rank. A Rank F Lord would almost always receive a Rank F talent. But when Noan performed the talent ritual, something went wrong. He didn't receive anything. The Academy didn't bother to look into it. A Rank F Lord wasn't worth much in their eyes, and a Rank F talent was barely useful anyway. In this world, ranks went from low to high as F, E, D, C, B, AS, and SS. 8 levels in total. Rank F was the very bottom. Most Rank F talents were almost meaningless. But now, the talent written on his Lord card was SSS. In this entire world, there were only 6 people known to possess SS rank talent. No one had ever awakened SSS rank before. In fact, according to old Noan's memories, most people didn't even consider the possibility that SSS might exist. In everyone's mind, SS was the absolute peak. God level. But Noan's talent was SSS. Maybe he was the only one in this world who possessed it. Noan could barely contain his grin. This talent wasn't just for his soldiers or future heroes. It also applied to him, a talent that strengthened his troops, his heroes, and himself. That was nothing less than broken. If the description was accurate, then even a measly rank F hero could be pushed higher and higher through fusion. As long as he had enough materials, he could raise a hero all the way to rank maybe even rank S. His heart pounded faster just thinking about it. Noan forced himself to exhale slowly and shook his head, suppressing the excitement. SSS rank talent or not, nothing had actually started yet. He's here. A shout echoed from the mouth of the alley. Noan instantly recognized the voice. One of the punks who had beaten old Noan to death. 5 young men walked into the narrow alley, metal baseball bats resting on their shoulders. At their head was a man in a black suit, wearing sunglasses even at night. A jagged scar cut across his face, giving him a naturally threatening aura. Noan's expression tightened. Did they figure out I'm not dead and come back to finish the job? He thought about running, but there was nowhere to go. The alley was a dead end, closed off by a building wall over 10 meters high. Unless he suddenly sprouted wings, there was no escape. One of the thugs saw a Noan sitting upright and cursed. "Fuck, I thought he was dead." "That's what I said," another added. "There was so much blood earlier, I was sure he was done for." "So this bastard was just playing dead? Damn it, I'll beat him for real this time." The man in the suit raised his hand. The 5 instantly shut up. He walked over Noan, crouched down in front of him, and flashed a spine-chilling smile. "Kid, you hurt bad?" Noan could tell this man had something else to say. He forced himself to stay calm, shook his head, and replied, "It's fine. Just a bit of blood." Of course, he wasn't going to mention that all his wounds had already healed. Still conscious, the man asked, voice flat. Noan just nodded lightly. "Good." The man's tone grew heavier. "I know you're pissed, but listen carefully. You're the one carrying your brother's debt, and the IOU has your name on it." He tapped Noan lightly on the chest. "I just want the money. I'm not here because I enjoy beating people to death." "Got it." Noan frowned, but nodded again. "Very good. Smart kid." The man smirked. "The total you owe with principal and interest is 20 million credit points. That's a huge amount, but I'm not trying to corner you completely. If you get a stable job, you can pay slowly. I won't charge extra interest. If not," his voice went cold, "I'll cut you up and sell your organs on the black market." Understand? Noan understood perfectly. This man had already decided old Noan was useless and better off dead. But now that he was still alive, killing him meant losing all that money. Noan hadn't paid a single credit point yet. Dead debtor meant 0 repayment. Alive debtor meant there was still something to squeeze. He wasn't stupid. He was here to draw a line and give Noan one last chance. In his previous life, Noan had started working early and met all kinds of people. He knew exactly what type this guy was. Instead of answering right away, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a card, holding it up between 2 fingers. "Don't worry," Noan said calmly. "With this, I'll pay you back soon." The man saw the card clearly and burst into laughter. "Ah, very good, very good," Noan continued. "I might only be a rank F lord, but this is enough to prove I can repay you, right?" "Of course." The man clapped him on the shoulder. "I'll come collect in a month. If you still haven't paid by then." He didn't finish the sentence. The hand on Noan's shoulder suddenly shifted to his neck, fingers tightening. "Then the consequences," he whispered, "are beyond what you can imagine." He slammed Noan back against the wall, but stopped when he noticed something strange. Noan's eyes weren't filled with fear. They were calm, cold, as if none of this had anything to do with him. "Fine," Noan replied, voice steady. "1 month from now, I'll pay you back in full. Principal and interest." The man grinned, showing off 2 gold teeth that glinted in the dim light. "Ah, brave kid." He let go of Noan's neck and stretched out his hand. One of the thugs, understanding immediately, placed a metal baseball bat in his palm. Then, bam! Ah! The bat smashed into Noan's back. White-hot pain exploded through his spine. For a second, he really thought his back had snapped in 2. "This is a warning," the man said calmly. "If you don't pay me back, this will be nothing compared to what comes next." With that, he turned and walked out of the alley. The thugs threw one last murderous glare at Noan, but didn't touch him again. They quickly followed after their boss. When the sound of their footsteps finally faded, Noan exhaled a long breath. His back throbbed, but compared to being beaten to death, this was nothing. He lowered his head and looked at his Lord identity card, clutching it tightly. So what if he was only a Rank F Lord? He had an SSS talent. Given enough time, he didn't need to become the ruler of the world. Revenge and a good life were already within reach. Yes, he wanted revenge. He wasn't the old Noan, but the old Noan's resentment and unwillingness were still burning in his chest. Noan sighed softly. First things first, a shower and clean clothes. Tomorrow, he would officially set foot on his new land. He needed to be prepared. He checked his bank account. 20,000 credit points. Savings that old Noan had managed to scrape together. In this world, credit points were the main currency. Almost everything could be paid through smartphones, or through Lord cards if you were a Lord. He wasn't going to torture himself like old Noan anymore. This time, he would live for himself. He hailed a taxi and went to a decent hotel. After checking in and taking a hot shower, the clothes and medical supplies he ordered online were delivered. He treated the bruise on his back. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad as it felt. Just a minor injury. Once he was done, he lay down on the soft, warm bed. Sleep was just starting to pull him under when his phone chimed. Noan frowned, unlocked it, and saw a message from his girlfriend. Or more accurately, old Noan's ex-girlfriend. Curious, he opened it. Noan, I want to change my phone. The one I'm using is over a year old and too outdated. Transfer 30,000 credits to me. Love you. Noan stared at the message for a second, then let out a short, mocking laugh. He didn't reply. He simply opened her contact and added her to the block list. Done. Noan rolled over and sank into the bed, falling asleep in comfort for the first time in a long while. At the same time, in a dark corner of the Central Park, a furious shout echoed. What the hell? Why isn't he dead? A blond young man glared at the man standing opposite him, face twisted with anger and disbelief. The man scratched his head and sighed. If Noan were here, he would immediately recognize him as one of the thugs who beat him to death. Or rather, beat old Noan to death. I don't know either, the thug said awkwardly. I clearly smashed his head with a metal bat over and over. There was blood everywhere. He stopped moving. I was sure he was dead. I never thought he'd actually live and even managed to get the repayment period extended. Fuck. The blonde youth was Noan's younger brother, Noan. He and Noan were twins, but they looked nothing alike. In fact, Noan didn't resemble either of their parents much, either. Noan's test for Lord potential was scheduled later than Noan's group. He didn't even know his own result yet. But the moment he heard Noan had become a Lord, even if it was just rank F, jealousy consumed him. So much so that he actually paid this thug to beat his own brother to death. And yet Noan was still alive. Alive, and give him more time to repay the debt. Noan's anger surged so hard he felt like coughing up blood. Can't you do it again? Noan snapped. Impossible. The thug replied quickly, clearly nervous. The boss is paying attention to him now. If I try something like that again, I'm done for. He'll skin me alive. Don't contact me anymore. I've already done more than enough. With that, he turned and hurried off. Tisk. Noan clicked his tongue, fists clenched. Noan, don't think that just because you became a Lord, you can act arrogant. His eyes were filled with venom. The next morning, Noan woke up to the sound of his alarm. He hadn't returned to the cheap motel where old Noan used to stay. He was worried the thug might come back and try something again. Not that it would have changed much. Even if the thug hadn't confessed, old Noan already knew who was behind the attack. They had lived together for 20 years. Old Noan understood his brother's personality all too well. After becoming a Lord, old Noan moved out as soon as he could, renting a small room to live alone. He was afraid Noan's jealousy would turn dangerous, but he still underestimated him. He never imagined Noan would actually pay someone to kill him. Noan had no doubts at all. The thug who attacked him was someone Noan often hung out with. They knew each other well. Even an idiot could see who was behind it. And unlike old Noan, Noan wasn't kind enough to let it go. He would definitely settle this debt. After washing up, changing into fresh clothes, and having breakfast at the hotel, Noan called a taxi and headed to Landlord Academy. In this world, anyone who completed 12 years of compulsory education had to study for another 2 years at Landlord Academy. Even if they didn't have the chance to become a lord, they still needed basic knowledge about new lands, lords, and how the territory system worked. Right now, almost everything in the economy, politics, and society revolved around lords. Before long, the taxi stopped in front of the academy. Noan stepped out, paid the fare, and walked toward the gate. He had just passed through when a loud, irritated voice called out to him. "Oi, Noan, what the hell are you doing?" That tone, full of anger and annoyance. Even without turning around, Noan knew exactly who it was.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
A somewhat beautiful woman walked in front of Noan. However, that beauty was covered in layers of thick makeup and a strong smell of cheap perfume. Noan frowned and took a step back, avoiding the girl's hand. Seeing Noan's actions, she became even angrier and more upset. She couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, "Are you crazy? Why did you block my phone number?" Noan didn't reply, his face indifferent as he looked at her. "She's his girlfriend, Karen." Last week, when Noan finished his test and officially became a landlord, Karen appeared and took the initiative to flirt with him. Old Noan lacked love, so he quickly fell into Karen's trap and became her dog. Not only was his family treating him unfairly, Old Noan also volunteered to become a gold mine for Karen to dig. The credit points that Noan had saved up were quickly used up because of Karen. However, Old Noan was like a fool, or he volunteered to be a fool, constantly providing resources to Karen. Of course, Karen is not a landlord. She is a normal person. But the new Noan doesn't understand why the old Noan is so loyal to her like a dog. However, now it's different. Noan now wants to continue his work as a dog. He looked at Karen's face and felt a little nauseous. Judging from the heavy makeup that looked like it was drawn with child's crayons, she looked like a bus. "Oi, didn't you hear me? Quickly transfer 30,000 credits to me," Karen shouted, her expression filled with anger and arrogance. "No, I've changed my mind now. If you don't transfer 50,000 credits, I'll break up with you." Noan laughed contemptuously in his heart. He didn't know if when Karen said that, she thought about the status between her and him. "What are you laughing at?" Karen saw Noan laughing, and a feeling of discomfort appeared in her heart. "I'm laughing," Noan replied, "because I feel you don't have the qualifications to be my girlfriend." "You?" Karen angrily raised her hand as if she wanted to slap Noan. However, the current Noan didn't let her do whatever she wanted. Karen's hand had not yet touched his face when it was stopped by Noan. He grabbed her wrist and squeezed it hard. "AAA!" Karen screamed in pain. Even though Noan didn't use any force, she pretended as if he was about to break her wrist. Her scream attracted the attention of everyone around. This is the academy gate anyway, so there are a lot of people coming and going. Noan let go of Karen's hand, but she pretended to fall on the ground, crying loudly as if she wanted more people to pay attention. "Noan, you are so cruel. I just wanted to buy a new phone. Do you have to hit me like this?" Karen cried and shouted. Noan sighed inwardly. If Karen became an actress, the Oscars would probably have to give her a miniature golden human statue. "You're a lord after all. Why are you stingy? I love you so much. I sacrificed so much for you. Now that you have become a lord, you want to abandon me. Are you still human?" Karen also realized that people were starting to pay attention and quickly added, "Even though I know you were just a rank F lord, I still love you and stay by your side. Now you look down on me like this. Do you know how much my heart aches?" Hearing Karen say that, the people around looked at Noan with eyes of annoyance and contempt. Looks like that young man is a bastard." From the girl's words, we can guess that the young man abandoned his girlfriend after becoming a lord. "Fuck. Damn it, I really want to punch him. All right, he is the lord. Don't mess with him. Just a rank F lord. Why are you so arrogant?" "That's right. Even if it's rank F, a useless rank, he's still a lord, and we're just ordinary people. Huh, why did such a bastard become a lord? Because he is lucky. Just a rank F lord trash. Hearing the people around scolding, Noan did not feel uncomfortable. In his previous life, he was scolded a lot, from customers to managers, bosses, and even the security guard at the company door. They scolded him. At that time, he thought that he just needed to improve and please everyone, and then everyone would be happier and friendlier with him. But Noan was wrong. The more he pleased people, the more they wanted to step on his head. In the end, he learned a lesson that no one has the right to decide how his life should turn out. Paying attention to the words of the fools around him only makes him foolish. Noan looked at the people who were scolding him and frowned. Do you know that after becoming a lord, my lifespan is longer than yours? What the hell is he talking about? Is he stupid? Fuck, what does this have to do with us? Are you stupid? What does it matter to me if you live longer? That's right. Noan nodded and said, this has nothing to do with you. The crowd was silent, their eyes looking at Noan, filled with annoyance and anger, but his words were too sharp, leaving them unable to refute. Brother, since when did you become such a bastard? Suddenly, a voice rang out, and a young man walked out from the surrounding crowd. He had blonde hair, a rather thin face, and of course, Noan immediately recognized who the young man was. Noan, the younger brother he loved the most, was also the one who helped old Noan escape this hell, helping new Noan have a body so he could live once more in this world. You are a man after all. Why do you treat women like this? Noan said as he bent down and helped Karen stand up. Karen didn't resist at all. On the contrary, she leaned her head on Noan's chest. Even a fool could see that those two people were acquainted. Noan shrugged and said, good, then you take care of her. Don't bother me. Brother, what the hell are you talking about? Noan shouted. I saw you treating your girlfriend badly. As your younger brother, I had to speak up. Don't think that being a lord means you can live however you want. You think that. Noan was talking, but suddenly stopped because Noan's eyes were too scary. Those eyes looked like they wanted to break his neck immediately. He was scared and stammered. What do you want? I warn you, there are a lot of people here. You can't hurt me. Noan laughed contemptuously in his heart. Noan, although he looked like a thug, was actually a coward. If you like that bus, I can give it to you. Don't worry, I haven't touched her yet. I'm afraid of getting dirty. Hearing Noan say that, Noan felt confused and asked, Bus? What do you mean? Noan smiled and replied, that means with just a little money, it's easy for anyone to go up or down. Hey, Noan, I will kill you. Karen heard the contemptuous words that treated her like a dirty bug and immediately shouted. But as she lunged towards Noan, he immediately dodged to the side, causing her to fall to the ground. Landing was terrible, 0 out of 10. Noan laughed disdainfully, then left. Today was a very important day anyway. He didn't want to waste time with fools. The crowd around saw Noan leave and no longer gathered there. Anyway, the main character of the drama is gone. They have no reason to stay here anymore. Karen was lying on the ground. At this moment, she was really crying, both angry and feeling uncomfortable. AAA. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Noan, why didn't you hit him? Noan frowned. Do you think I don't want to beat him? I want to kill him, cut him into pieces. But this is Lord Academy. He is also a lord. If I beat him, I will definitely get into big trouble. I can't stand this humiliation. AAA. How can I ever meet anyone else again? Hearing Karen cry loudly, Noan became even angrier. He gritted his teeth and said, Karen, don't worry. I'm sure he will pay. Noan, of course, didn't care what Noan and Karen would do. Even if they didn't do anything, it wouldn't make him forgive what they did. He went to the newbie area, preparing to complete the procedures to enter the new land. Suddenly, Noan felt someone poking his back with a finger. He turned his head and saw a girl. This girl has extremely bright pink hair. Even if you put her in a crowd, she will stand out. About 165 centimeters tall, with a lovely face, a slightly mischievous expression, and a charming figure wrapped in a JK outfit, which makes her even more adorable. Like a sweet lollipop, anyone who sees it will be fascinated. She is known as every guy's dream girlfriend, Lilia. Noan, of course, knew her, not because she was famous, but because he was in the same class with her. In his class, only he and she were qualified to become lords. Lilia smiled slyly. You were so cool just now. Noan glanced at Lilia and asked in confusion, "Aren't you angry? You see the way I treat women. You are also a woman. Don't you feel uncomfortable?" Lilia shrugged and said with a smile, "Why do I feel uncomfortable? On the contrary, I feel very happy and comfortable. I don't like that kind of woman. What you did made me very satisfied." "Oi, where did you get the word bus?" That word is really a fatal blow to that kind of woman." Seeing that Lilia really didn't seem angry, with her mischievous expression, he also felt amused. "Want to learn? You have to pay tuition." Lilia pouted, her expression extremely adorable. She stuck out her tongue, annoyedly saying, "Blah, I don't need it, stingy. Worthy of being a rank F lord." After saying that, Lilia suddenly felt that she had gone a bit too far and pursed her lips, saying, Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Don't worry, I don't care either." What Noan said was the truth. He really didn't care what people said or that they looked down on him as just a rank F landlord. Anyway, he now possesses SSS rank talent. No matter how much people scold him, he doesn't care. On the contrary, the less people know about his SSS rank talent, the better. Like Negan, he was so jealous that he hired thugs to beat him to death when he found out that Noan had become a lord. But in Negan's eyes, he was just a rank F lord. If people were to know about the existence of the SSS rank talent he possessed, many people would be willing to kill him immediately. Therefore, for his own safety, he needed to keep this secret. What he needs is time. Noan believes that as long as he has enough time to develop, in the future, even if people discover this secret, he will have enough ability to defend himself. Seeing that Noan really didn't care, Lilia breathed a sigh of relief. Her expression made Noan feel confused. After all, she was the most beautiful flower in this academy, the dream goddess of every boy. Why did she feel worried that he would be angry? Lilia regained her mischievous expression, took out her phone, and said with a smile, "Let's exchange contacts." Noan asked in confusion, "For what?" You are really arrogant." Lilia pouted. "Other men want to talk to me, but I am too lazy to pay attention to them. And you, I am asking for your phone number, but you are so cautious as if I want to eat you." Noan laughed. "You are so funny." Lilia shook the phone in front of Noan. "Moreover, in our class, only you and I have become lords. Let's exchange contacts a bit. After we reach the new land, we can support each other. Are you sure you need my help?" Noan shrugged and said, "You just said I'm just a rank F landlord. Don't you remember?" Lilia snorted. Her arrogant expression did not make Noan uncomfortable. On the contrary, it made him feel that she was very cute. "And I'm a rank A lord. Rank A, rank A." "Okay, you don't need to repeat it 3 times. Noan frowned. "Important things need to be said 3 times. Lilia smiled and said, "If you can't help me, I can protect you." Thump, thump, Lilia said as she patted Noan's shoulder, seemingly not minding touching his body. However, Noan didn't want to touch her. Just because she was close to him didn't mean she liked him. Perhaps it was just because her personality was quite easygoing. "Then, please take care of me more." Don't worry," Lilia said confidently. "Please invite student Noan to teleport station number 23. Noan heard the announcement mentioning his name and said, "I'll go first. Bye-bye." Lilia waved at him with a mischievous smile. "When you reach the new land, remember to contact me." "Got it," Noan replied simply, then quickly headed to teleportation station number 23. Here, the employee in charge of teleportation was a black-haired girl with a pretty face, probably only a few years older than Noan. She smiled warmly and said, "Hello, I am Maya, the manager of this teleportation station. You and I will be working together a lot in the near future." Noan also nodded and said, "I am Noan." Maya continued, "This portal will take you to a new land. There, you will build your own territory. Don't worry, the place you're going to is very suitable for beginners. Just do exactly what you've learned. Do you have any questions?" Noan shrugged and said no. Good. Maya smiled friendly. Then, please present your ID card proving your status as a lord. Noan took out his gray card and placed it on the counter. Maya saw the card. Her face was a bit surprised, but then she quickly calmed down. Her attitude was extremely professional. Noan was not worried that his SSS rank talent would be exposed. After all, the Lord's ID card only displayed the Lord's rank, not talent and other information. Only the card owner can see more information. Maya put the card into the machine. After a while, it seemed like the identification procedure was complete. She then returned the card to him with both hands. Noan received the card. Then Maya took out a small metal ball the size of a tennis ball and gave it to Noan. This is the core of the territory. You know how to use it, right? He received the metal ball from Maya and nodded slightly. I understand. Good. Then please stand inside the teleportation gate. Noan did as Maya said, stepping onto a platform made of heavy metal blocks, surrounded by 4 pillars made of stone. On the pillar, strange characters emitting yellow light continuously moved. Maya manipulated for a while, and then the 4 pillars emitted a dazzling light. A golden magic circle appeared, enveloping Noan in the middle. Instantly, Noan's body completely disappeared. Maya saw this and started checking the location Noan would be going to. However, a notice board appeared, which startled her. Ding! Lord not found. Heh, why can't I find it? Maya was scared and hurriedly checked again. Ding! Lord not found. This? Why can't it be found? Is there a system error? Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly, her phone rang. Maya hurriedly picked up. Captain, Maya, teleportation station 23 is having an error. Please transfer to station 25. What? Maya was startled, her face filled with fear as she asked. Captain, then, during the system error, if someone uses the teleportation station, where will they be teleported to? This? I don't know either. Could it be that someone teleported during the system error? Captain, I just helped an academy student teleport. The other side was silent for a moment. Maya was also silent. Her heart was beating continuously. What is the rank of the person who was just teleported? Hearing that question, Maya immediately said, it's rank F. After answering, Maya could hear the captain's relieved sigh. Immediately, delete his information. What? Captain, if you don't want to die, then delete all his information. He's just a rank F landlord anyway, of no use to the Imperial Federation. But Maya pursed her lips, her eyes already wet as if she was about to cry. Don't think too much. Whether he returns or not will be troublesome. If he comes back, he will sue you. You might even be thrown in jail. Maya, your mother is seriously ill and needs your care. Delete his information and pretend nothing happened. Moreover, there is no student who has been to this singularity and has been able to return. Okay, the decision is yours. The captain finished speaking and hung up. Maya bit her lip, not knowing what to do. Noan felt a little dizzy, as if he had fallen into a zero-gravity environment. But after feeling his feet touch the ground, he slowly opened his eyes. This place is... Noan saw this place like a city that had been abandoned for a long time. The buildings collapsed into huge piles of rubble. Plants had invaded everywhere. Even weeds and flowers, even trees over 5 meters tall, had broken through the road surface to cover the place with greenery. In the distance, rotting zombies were moving aimlessly. Luckily, the place where Noan appeared was quite far away from those zombies, so they didn't detect him. However, Noan felt very confused about why he was here. In fact, he knew very well that the first land that a newbie like him set foot on would be filled with zombie monstrosities. However, according to what he learnt, the place he was taken to was very safe. Zombies are also very far from the area to build the territory, creating enough conditions for new lords to get used to the dangers in the new land. But it seemed that Noan felt that the place he went to was a bit strange. There were a lot of zombies moving everywhere on the road. Luckily, the place he was situated was quite far from the zombies, so he was still safe. Noan shivered, sensing something watching him from the hidden corners of the collapsed buildings. He frowned and gently backed away, trying not to make any noise. Even though he is a lord, if he cannot find a place to place the core and summon soldiers, he is useless. Only when he finds a suitable place to install the core does he have the right to summon soldiers to fight. He was a novice and had summoned a hero once. However, he did not dare to use the summoning power here. Luckily, this place was not in the city center, so he could quickly run to the suburbs. In the city, the population is extremely dense, so the number of zombies will certainly be extremely large. Therefore, Noan decided to go out of the city and find a rather deserted place. After walking since morning, Noan found an abandoned house, surrounded by a flower field, looking quite peaceful. After confirming that there were no other zombies in this place, he squatted on the ground and took out the metal ball that Maya had not given him. He took out the Lord ID card, scanned it on the orb, and immediately after a mechanical voice rang out. "Ding! You have access to the core. Do you want to install the core now?" "No. I want to be granted the right to summon heroes." "Ding! You have a hero summon. Do you want to use it now?" "Yes." "Ding! Please place the core on the ground and confirm there are no dangers in the surroundings." Noan followed the instructions and placed the core on the ground. Immediately after, with the metal ball as the center, a magic circle appeared on the ground, emitting a purple light. From within the magic circle, a honeycomb-shaped cocoon slowly emerged. It flew out of the magic circle and hovered in front of Noan. The cocoon slowly disintegrated into countless particles of light, revealing an extremely alluring woman lying inside. Shoulder-length black hair, snow-white skin, soft as a baby's, a body full of charm as if enticing men to see her commit a crime. On her back are two bat-like wings, accompanied by a tail, the end of which is an upside-down heart like the symbol of the Ace of Spades. "Ding! Congratulations on successfully summoning your first hero, Succubus, Rank D. Hero rank is the same as talent rank. The lowest is F, and the highest is SS. Rank D is very low, but still better than Rank F very much. Besides, Noan liked the succubus sleeping in front of him. So beautiful, so seductive. The curves of her body seemed to bewitch him. Noan tried to suppress the fire of lust burning inside him. He knew now was not the time to have fun. However, even though he only summoned a D-rank hero, he still felt satisfied in his heart. First, he has SSS rank talent and can evolve a hero easily. Second, he thought he had summoned an ugly monster, but in front of him was a beautiful woman. In fact, her beauty was not inferior to Lilia's. If Lilia is the symbol of every boy's first love, then this succubus is like a gentle older sister. Each person is beautiful in their own way. Noan reached out his finger and touched the succubus' forehead. Immediately after, she slowly opened her eyes, placed her 2 feet on the ground, and tilted her head to look at him. "You are my master," she spoke, her voice pleasant as if whispering into his ear. "Yes." Noan took a deep breath and said, "Indeed, a succubus is a type of monster with such a high charm that it is hard to resist." Hearing that, she suddenly smiled greedily. That smile made Noan shiver as if she was about to do something very terrible. She slowly walked towards Noan. He swallowed, his heart tense. He was not afraid of her betraying him. After all, the monsters summoned by the Lord would be absolutely loyal and would never betray them. He was just afraid that what she would do would make him unable to control his desires. She walked up to him, her hand gently caressing his face. "Master, what is your name?" Noan felt her soft and warm hand caressing his cheek. Just a small action, but it made his heart beat continuously as if it was about to jump out of his chest. "Noan," he said through gritted teeth. My name is VYLYSS. Master, do you want me to eat you, or do you want to eat me?" VYLYSS said, her voice filled with seduction. Her words were like pouring gasoline on the fire of lust burning inside him. VYLYSS licked her lips greedily. She began to bring her face closer to his. Each breath carried a scent so fragrant that it caused Noan's mind to begin to be covered by a layer of fog. Her hands seemed to carry some kind of mysterious magic. Her left hand caressed his face as her right hand began to reach inside his pants. Her luscious red lips were just inches away from his face. As their lips were about to touch, Noan's two hands suddenly grabbed VYLYSS's shoulders and then pushed her away. "Ack, Master," VYLYSS asked in confusion. "I'm still clean, don't worry." Noan took a deep breath, trying to calm down. Too horrible, too scary, too seductive. Although he also wanted to enjoy a little to see what kind of feeling the succubus would bring him. However, he still had to do something, which was to find a place to install the core. Besides, at the academy, he had also learned about the succubus race. The concept of succubus is, of course, known to everyone. Although they are only rank D, they are very dangerous. Dangerous to both enemies and their masters. Once upon a time, there was a level 2 D rank lord, a man. He successfully summoned a succubus, and because he couldn't resist her charm, he had sex with that succubus. However, in the end, the lord died. Yes, he died because his life energy was drained by the succubus. Although the summoned succubus would definitely not betray him or harm him, absorbing life energy was the way the succubus existed. For the first time in the history of the lords, a lord was killed by a hero. Because of this, succubus is considered extremely dangerous to low-level lords. Noan also did not dare to take risks. He tried to control himself, letting his desires slowly be extinguished by reason. Seeing VYLYSS tilt her head to look at him, he sighed inwardly. From now on, he had to live with VYLYSS, which meant he had to endure her charms at all times. However, he believed that with his SSS rank talent, he wouldn't need to hold back for too long. The more soldiers or heroes possess the evolution mark, the more the Lord's power will increase. As long as a soldier or hero undergoes fusion, they will have the evolution mark. So as long as he completes the core installation, he can start using his talent. Now is not the right time. VYLYSS heard that and nodded slightly. She smiled and said, "Master, I'll wait for you." "No." He held his forehead, feeling a little tired. Her every action and word were things that every man wanted to see and hear. It seemed she understood men's thoughts very well. Noan felt that it was normal. She was a succubus after all. Go to the house ahead and check the situation. See how many zombies are inside. Noan ordered. VYLYSS bowed her head and respectfully said, "Yes, my master." When she bowed her head, because the neckline of her dress was very wide, he could see two proud, snowy mountains shaking with each breath she took. Noan took a deep breath, trying to calm down. VYLYSS raised her head, looking at Noan with a triumphant smile. At this moment, he knew clearly that she was doing this on purpose to seduce him. Noan sighed, feeling that his lifespan had been greatly reduced. Having to restrain himself like this all the time would definitely cause his mind and heart to explode. After VYLYSS left, Noan sat in the distance waiting. She didn't leave but spread her wings and flew straight towards the small house in front. Noan now opened the information panel and started checking VYLYSS's information. Name, VYLYSS. Race, succubus. Rank D. Description, VYLYSS is proficient in many dark magic skills. Her physical strength and magical power are in balance. She can increase strength by absorbing male life energy. However, VYLYSS is a rare succubus who worships the goddess of lust and the goddess of purity, remaining loyal and loving only one person her entire life. Because she worships both goddesses, she can use some light magic, but the power is negligible. Note, VYLYSS is heterosexual, as she worships both goddesses, so if you become her lover, you need to be careful. She can absorb more life energy than other succubi. However, she can also control the amount of life energy she needs to absorb. To evolve VYLYSS, 6 rank D materials are needed. Noan read the description and felt a little surprised. It was the first time he heard about a succubus worshipping 2 goddesses. In fact, the goddess that VYLYSS worships is not only the goddess of lust, but also the goddess of purity. Luckily, she can control the amount of life energy she needs to absorb. Noan thought to herself, that is a huge advantage. It must be known that succubi cannot control their ability to absorb life energy. That's also why the previous lord died while sleeping with the succubus. Noan also noticed one more thing, which was the condition to be able to evolve to a higher rank. She needs 6 rank D materials. Noan thought to himself, that means it doesn't matter if she's a soldier or a hero. Suddenly, Noan realized there were 4 black shadows flying towards him, making him startled. Those 4 black shadows were like 4 balls, drawing an arc in the air, then accurately falling in front of him. He recognized the 4 shadows as 4 skulls, 3 adults and 1 child, all in a state of decay, their eyes about to fall out but held together by a few tears. The face was badly rotten, revealing the tongue and throat inside. The stench rushed into Noan's nose, making him almost vomit. Noan quickly retreated. He raised his head and saw VYLYSS flying in the air, her face happy as if she had just done something wonderful. "No, what the hell is this? A gift for me? Please, I don't need this kind of gift." Noan covered his mouth and nose, frowning and saying, "Is that all?" "Yes, master." VYLYSS smiled and said, "The inside is clean." Noan thought of the 4 headless corpses still in the house and ordered, "You take those 4 corpses and throw them somewhere else. The farther the better." "Yes, master." VYLYSS followed Noan's command, once again returning to that house. Noan sighed. After all, he came from Earth, and he rarely saw dead people, so he couldn't adapt to this world yet. After VYLYSS dealt with the 4 corpses inside the cabin, Noan now approached the house. The house was not big, about 50 square meters, and has 2 floors, an attic, and a basement. The basement was quite large, probably even larger than the area above the house. However, the musty smell was terrible, and besides, rats, cockroaches, and many other insects were everywhere. The basement was even more horrifying. Underneath, it seemed to be used for storing food reserves. However, over the years, the things below had become horrible. The stench was so strong that it almost made Noan vomit. But the basement of this house is built very solidly and spaciously. It can be used as a place to put the core. So Noan opened the basement door, letting the stench out a little, then used a towel to cover his nose and mouth and climbed down. Beside him was VYLYSS. She didn't seem to smell anything, her face still calm, as usual. Noan didn't want to stay in the basement for long. He quickly placed the core on the ground and then activated it. Ding! Do you want to make this place your territory? Note, after the core is activated, with the core as the center, the area within a 10-meter radius around it will become your territory. Agree. Noah immediately agreed. Ding! Confirmation successful. The metal ball immediately separated, then formed a circular metal altar 3 meters in diameter on the ground. On the altar, strange characters emitted a gray light, symbolizing the Lord's rank, Rank F. Not stopping there, a few strange characters flew up, then stuck to Noan's Lord ID card. Ding! Core activation successful. Ding! Summoning altar activation successful. Ding! Territory activation successful. Ding! Activation of Lord functions successful. For consecutive system notification, sounds rang out. Noan held the card in his hand, smiling with satisfaction. This is the power of combining current technology and magic. He felt lucky to come to a world like this. In the past, he had read many fantasy novels, but most of them were based on the medieval era. Rarely had Noan seen a combination of fantasy and science fiction like this. Noan had learned everything at the academy, so he knew what to do now. He raised his ID card, then ordered, "Activate Lord function." Immediately after, a panel appeared in front of him, with the functions he could now use on it. The functions he could use were just like a regular social networking site he had used on Earth. There are many items, but can be summarized as follows: chat, transaction, information lookup, emergency request, map, and translation. Noan did not rush to use the functions on the card. He put the card in his pocket, then walked to the side of the altar and asked with a frown, how many resources are needed to renovate this house? Immediately after, another information panel appeared before him. Ding! To renovate the territory in its original form, 100 wood units and 100 stone units are needed. Noan nodded. He knew this was the way to calculate materials to build a territory. However, according to what he learned in the academy, there would definitely be resource storage centers left behind by the Imperial Federation around this place. Anyway, this is the first map for beginners, just to help beginners get used to fighting in a new land. Therefore, the Empire has created the best conditions for new players to have the initial time to develop. While assess, find out if there are any resource reserves around this place. Hearing Noan say that, while assess suddenly pouted. Master, you still haven't praised me just now. No, he sighed and said, later, wait for me to clean this house. I don't want to stay in such a smelly and dark place. While YSS tilted her head at him, as if doubting his promise. No, hey, I'm your master. Trust me a little, okay? While YSS left with a doubtful expression. Noan sighed. Although he knew that she would be absolutely loyal to him, he still felt a little strange in his heart. Is that the look a loyal person should have? He shook his head, not wanting to think anymore. He looked at the altar, starting to arrive at the moment he was most looking forward to. Summoning and fusion. Begin summoning. Noan ordered. Ding. You can summon 10 skeletons in a day. Do you want to summon it now? Agree. Ding. Summoning is starting. Please wait a moment. Immediately after, the characters beside the altar emitted a gray light. The altar seemed to turn into a lake. The skeletons started climbing out of the altar and then knelt before Noan. A total of 10 skeletons. They looked like normal skeletons, without any weapons, and looked very weak. He felt like he could just use a little force and break these skeletons into pieces. Noan frowned, feeling that this number made him a little uncomfortable. Why? Because he can fuse 3 soldiers of the same rank together. If you fuse all these skeletons, there will still be 1 skeleton left. Noan thought, then decided to use fusion on only 6 skeletons. Use fusion. After Noan gave the order, the 6 skeletons in front of him suddenly disintegrated and fused together. Very quickly, 2 more skeletons appeared. These 2 skeletons, after fusing, were about 30 centimeters larger than normal skeletons. In their hands, they held a sword made from human mist. It is worth mentioning that the bones of these 2 skeletons seemed to be sturdier than normal skeletons. At this moment, 2 information panels appeared in front of Noan. Name, skeleton. Rank F. Type, soldier. Description, they are the weakest monsters, easiest to defeat. However, they have almost unlimited fighting power. Name, warrior skeleton, plus 10%. Rank, F+. Type, soldier. Description, stronger and tougher than normal skeletons, tireless, can fight endlessly. Seeing the information of the skeleton after evolution, Noan felt happy in his heart. Suddenly, he felt lucky that he was a Rank F Lord, able to summon skeletons. It must be known that although skeletons are very weak, they seem to be tireless, fearless of death, and do not need rest or food. Luckily, they were only Rank F monsters. Even a normal adult could defeat them. Otherwise, they would be the terror of this entire world. The thought of a powerful and immortal monster that could fight tirelessly was terrifying. However, Noan knew clearly he was about to create such a monster. No, not just one, but several. Upon seeing that the warrior skeleton's rank was only F+ and not E, Noan was not disappointed. After all, F+ was not the final score, and it could still continue to evolve. Once again, he felt lucky because he was a Rank F Lord. Although skeletons were weak, he could summon up to 10 skeletons a day. The higher the Lord's rank, although he can summon stronger soldiers, the number will also be fewer. Even for a Rank B or a Lord, it would take days to summon a single soldier. On the contrary, Noan can summon 10 skeletons in a day. Combined with his almighty fusion talent, he can definitely create an extremely terrifying skeleton army. Noan didn't think much more. He also didn't continue to fuse. Although he knew that if he continued to fuse, he could create a Rank E skeleton, which would make it very difficult to protect the territory. Sometimes quantity is better than quality, especially when it comes to guarding. Noan sighed, thinking to himself, looks like to be able to evolve VYLYSS, I need to wait a while longer. At this moment, Noan also felt the strength in his body increase. However, only a little. Like a drop of water falling into a glass of water. It doesn't mean much. But that also proves that his power has increased thanks to the fusion of soldiers. Soldiers are also empowered by the evolution mark. Noan assigned 4 Rank F skeletons to patrol around the house, while 2 F+ skeletons stayed inside the house, closer to him. If anything happens, the 4 skeletons outside will sound the alarm by knocking on the wall. This is also one of the weaknesses of skeletons. They cannot talk, cannot communicate, have extremely low intelligence, and can only perform simple tasks. A moment later, VYLYSS returned, saw Noan sitting on the sofa in the living room, and she immediately hugged him. Master! No! At this moment, Noan's heartbeat increased so fast that it was out of control. He really wanted to cry in his heart. Possessing a beautiful succubus was wonderful, but being next to such a succubus was punishment. He gritted his teeth and pushed VYLYSS away. Of course, he could also see her face filled with dissatisfaction. Found the resource reserve. Noan asked immediately. VYLYSS pouted and said, Master, within 20 miles of this place, there is no structure like what you described. Hearing this, Noah frowned, feeling extremely confused. One must know that resource reserves are distributed everywhere to serve the initial territory building of newbies. But there being no resource reserve within 20 miles of this place was too strange. While Noan was thinking, VYLYSS was still looking at him with eyes full of resentment. He sighed, patting his thigh. VYLYSS was delighted to see that and immediately laid down on Noan's lap. VYLYSS's face pressed against his thigh reminded him of images that were a bit R18. His hand gently caressed her face and hair. This was also a kind of enjoyment. If he didn't do this, she would definitely not stop enchanting him. Noan stroked VYLYSS while taking out his ID card and checking the map function. The map appeared. There was only one bright area on it, which was the 20-mile area around his territory. The rest was all black. Any place that the Lord's soldiers or heroes pass through will be shown as a cleared area on the map. This is as a result of combining magic and technology. Noan frowned. Usually the map would show resource-gathering locations or dangerous places. However, even the areas that VYLYSS had explored did not show anything. This place is more like a singularity than a beginner's area. Master! Suddenly, VYLYSS spoke up. It seems we have guests. Guests? Noan frowned. At this moment, VYLYSS sat up, her finger pointing towards the window. Noan saw this and walked to the window, frowning as she looked into the distance. Immediately, he realized there was a dark figure lurking in the distance, behind the dense foliage. However, Noah still recognized what the creature was. Liquor. Noan, of course, knew what kind of monster a liquor was. After all, in the academy, he had learned all the knowledge necessary for a lord. Lickers are also a type of zombie monster. However, they are agile, have the ability to cling like lizards, and move without making any sound. In particular, their tongue is a tentacle as hard as metal, an extremely terrifying weapon. Lickers can use it to pierce through human skulls, then suck out the brain inside. A licker's rank is E+. However, they do not hunt alone, but in groups. They're usually in a group of at least 3 or more. Even though VYLYSS is a D-rank hero, facing so many lickers is impossible. Although Noan possesses SSS rank talent, it is only for support purposes and cannot be used in combat. Besides, the soldiers that Noan owns are only 2 rank F+ skeletons and 4 rank F skeletons. It could be said that in front of a group of lickers, he was no different from a delicious bait. Noan frowned. He could guess that the lickers had followed him from the city here. Perhaps the sense of danger I felt when I first teleported here was coming from those lickers. Noan thought to himself, Master! VYLYSS stood beside Noan and spoke softly. Don't worry, Noan sighed and replied. They won't dare attack us now. They'll wait until evening. Pay attention to how many monsters there are. then report back to me. VYSS glanced at Noan. Even though his face was quite calm, she knew he was worried. Because of that, she stopped teasing him and bowed her head, saying, "Yes, master." After VYSS left, Noan let out a sigh. He was really worried in his heart. The bad news was the lickers were going to attack him tonight. The good news was he had time to prepare from now until the sun set. Noan frowned. At this moment, he seemed to be certain that he had been teleported to the singularity. It must be known that this is almost impossible. Up till now, there have only been 2 cases of being mistakenly teleported to the singularity. However, people who are teleported to the singularity all die. The mortality rate is 100%. Both of those cases were high-ranking lords. One was a level 4 rank B lord, and the other was even stronger, a level 6 rank A lord. However, they all died and never returned. The singularity is an area unexplored by the Imperial Federation, a place like a tropical forest, full of danger and brutality. Even if he could ask the Empire for aid, they wouldn't be able to come to his aid because the singularity didn't exist on the maps that had been cleared by the Empire. Simply put, he was thrown into the middle of hell. No one could help him. Only he could help himself. The good news is he can still perform trading functions. On the information panel displayed before him, the trading and chat functions were still working normally. In the chat box, there was only one person he could contact, and that was Lilia. Noan thought for a moment, then decided to contact her. After all, right now, perhaps only she could help him. Noan, hello. Lilia, I thought you didn't contact me. Where are you? Send me your location. Noan, I can't send you the location. Lilia, are you afraid that I will send troops to attack you? Huh, are you looking down on me? Noan, no. It seems I was sent to the singularity. There are no exact coordinates to send you. Lilia, what? Singularity? Are you sure? Noan, sure. Lilia, I'll call the support team to look for you. Noan, no need. They can't find me. We can only wait until 7 days later. I will be automatically teleported back to the city. Lilia, this 7 days is too long. I'm afraid that during that time you will. Lilia did not continue, because the outcome of those who were teleported to the singularity was death. No, and don't worry. I need you to help me with something. There isn't any resource storage center here. I need you to lend me some resources. Lilia, resources however many you need. I have plenty. Noan, no need for too much. Just 100 wood units and 100 stone units will be enough. We need to build the territory in its first form. Lilia, good. I'll send it to you. If you need any help, just text me. Noan saw Lilia's message and felt a little warm inside. He didn't think that a stranger would treat him better than his own family. At first, he thought that Lilia would make a request. For example, she would sell him resources. But Noan misunderstood. She didn't mention selling resources. As long as he said it, she immediately agreed, which made him a little surprised. Lilia, I have sent you the resources. Every day, you must message me. Noan asked in confusion. Thanks, but for what? Lilia, to let me know you're alive, of course. Noan felt funny, but also felt that Lilia was really cute. Good. If I can go back, I will treat you to dinner. Lilia, is it a date? No, Noan, it's just dinner. If you don't like it, you can refuse. Lilia, of course I won't refuse, but where are you going to invite me to eat? Noan, hamburger or fried chicken? Lilia, stingy. I want to eat at a big restaurant, spending all your money. Stingy. Noan, all right, if I come back alive, I'll invite you to a big restaurant. Lilia, you better come back. Otherwise, I won't talk to you anymore. No, he chuckled, feeling that Lilia was really adorable. All right, I'll be back. Don't worry. Lilia, I'm not worried about you. Lilia finished speaking and exited the chat box. Noan shook his head. He was sure that he would return. Otherwise, he would waste this only SSS rank talent. Noan went down to the basement, seeing the lake form from the core, starting to emit a gray light. At this moment, a notice board appeared before him. Lord Lilia has sent you a resource package. Do you want to receive it? Accept. Ding. You get 500 wood units, 500 stone units, 200 iron units, 100 almighty food pills, 100 water bottles, and 1 random soldier summon card. All items are contained inside the summoning pool. You can take them out at any time. Noan was startled when he saw the amount of resources Lilia sent him. He only wanted 100 units of wood and stone. She sent 5 times the amount he needed. She even sent additional iron resources, food, and water. Besides, she also sent him something extremely valuable, which was a soldier summoning card. Although this was a random soldier summoning card, for Noan, it was a fireplace that kept him warm in the face of a terrible blizzard. Even if this soldier summoning card can summon F-rank soldiers, it will still help him a lot. With the almighty fusion talent that Noan possesses, any soldier will become stronger in his hands, as long as there are enough of them. Looks like I have to choose which restaurant is good enough to invite Lilia to dinner. Noan thought to himself. He also didn't text her to thank her anymore. Saying too much was meaningless. When he returned to the city, he would find a way to thank her later. Noan began to manipulate the screen floating in front of him, and then a list of starting projects appeared before him. Even though he had a lot of resources, he could only build the starting building. Other buildings required a higher lord level and had many other conditions. Noan chose for a long time, deciding to choose the most expensive project among the starting projects. Ding! Do you want to build the apocalyptic bunker? Confirm. Ding! The construction will cost 400 stone units, 400 wood units. Please wait for 12 hours. The house did not change immediately, but remained normal until the construction period was completed. The appearance of this house changed. Noan breathed a sigh of relief. Then he continued to use the random soldier summoning card. Ding! Do you want to use the random soldier summon card? Agree. Ding! Summoning is starting. Immediately after, the summoning lake emitted a green light. Noan was delighted when he saw that light, because he knew what that light represented. From within the lake, 9 shadows began to climb out. They were about 140 centimeters tall, had skinny bodies, blue skin, and 2 small fangs in their mouths, and they held a wooden club in hand. Race, Goblin. Rank E. Description, quite strong, very agile, but gets tired quickly and eats a lot. Noan only skimmed through the description because he naturally wouldn't use these 9 goblins to fight. Full fusion, he ordered. Immediately after, the bodies of the 9 goblins began to disintegrate into countless particles of light. Those particles of light began to fuse into one. 9 goblins can create 3 high-level individuals, but he wants an even higher-level individual. Luckily, the number was enough for him to continue fusing. Therefore, the 9 goblins immediately fused into one. Ding! Congratulations! During the fusion process, the monster has mutated, gaining additional good attributes and a higher level. Noan was a little surprised. He never thought that the talent Almighty Fusion also had this ability. Looks like I still underestimated this SSS rank talent. There are probably more hidden functions that the system doesn't show inside the talent description. Noan thought to himself. Of course, he was also extremely excited to wait and see what he would create. The light disappeared, revealing a figure about 250 centimeters tall, with blue skin and fangs growing backwards in its mouth, more than 10 centimeters long. In one hand, the monster held a metal-spiked mace, in the other a wooden shield covered in steel. Standing in front of that monster, even though it was Noan's soldier and definitely loyal to him, he still felt a bit scared. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the mutated monster, Warrior High Orc. Name, Warrior High Orc, plus 10%. Rank, D+. Description, immense strength. When it is in mortal danger, its outer skin can harden like metal. It can even lead a group of orcs or high orcs in a battle. Noan felt both happy and relieved when he saw the Warrior High Orc standing in front of him. Looks like, as long as the number of lickers isn't too large, I can easily defend myself. Besides, Noan was also surprised when his strength increased a lot, even more than when he fused 2 warrior skeletons. Noan felt very clearly that his physical strength had almost doubled compared to before. His body was shaking with joy. Every cell of his body was extremely excited. He was very weak before due to long periods of malnutrition and overwork, which gradually exhausted his body. However, after feeling the increase in strength, he felt that he was not inferior to the professional athletes on Earth. Noan clenched his fist and raised it in front of him. He could clearly see that his hand had gained some muscle. Not much, but pretty obvious. This is the special effect of Almighty Fusion. Not only are the heroes and soldiers he summoned strengthened, but he himself is also strengthened. The power he gains is based on the strength and number of monsters or heroes that possess the evolution mark. At this moment, the warrior high orc knelt on the ground. Even though he was kneeling, he was still as tall as Noan. It bowed its head and respectfully said, "Master, please give me a name." Name? Noan frowned upon hearing it. Only a summoned hero who wanted to abandon his old name would ask the Lord to give him a name. This high orc is just a soldier. Why does he need a name? Could it be because it mutated after I used Almighty Fusion? Noan thought to himself. Of course, this was a simple matter. He thought for a moment and decided to choose a name for the high orc. From now on, you'll be Erlgen. Thank you, Master. Erlgen bowed his head and said. Noan suddenly realized something extremely important: how to get Erlgen out of this basement. A moment later, VYLSS returned and was surprised to see a high orc in the house. What was more special was that there was a large hole in the middle of the house, enough to see the entire basement. Master, that is... VYLSS flew to Noan's side, asking in confusion. That is a warrior high orc, my new soldier. Noan shrugged and said. He really had no choice but to let Erlgen break the floor upstairs to climb out of the basement. The basement entrance was too small anyway. Erlgen couldn't climb out through that path. VYLSS only glanced at Erlgen sitting in the corner of the room, then ignored him and turned her attention to Noan. Master, there are about 4 monsters outside that you call lickers, VYLSS said as she used her hands to rub Noan's shoulders from behind. Noan did not refuse VYLSS's service, enjoying it while frowning and thinking. For lickers, it seems they might possess that thing. Get ready. Tonight, we will attack. Noan said. VYLSS seemed to pay no attention to his words, nor to Erlgen's existence. She leaned over, letting her soft peaks press against the back of Noah's neck. Master, VYLSS's words carried a kind of charm, as if she was pleading with Noan, causing him to shiver. Master, I flew all day. Now I feel very tired. Could you give me some, please? Just a little. Hearing the words filled with excitement and coquetry, Noan felt an extreme headache. Even though his strength had increased greatly, he did not dare let lust take over his mind. But they were so soft, as if pouring gasoline on the fire of desire inside him. Okay, wait until tonight. I will give you some. VYLSS laughed happily. Master, I look forward to it, She finished speaking and then lightly bit his earlobe, startling him. VYLSS immediately retreated, looking at him with a face full of triumph. Noan shook his head and sighed. He felt that he needed to be stronger, otherwise, before being killed by enemies or monsters, he would have had his life energy drained by VYLSS. Having a succubus around is like carrying a time bomb, only you don't know when it will explode. As soon as the sun set, darkness immediately enveloped the entire area. Today was a waning moon, and the moonlight was so faint that anyone looking up at the sky would not even realize that there was a moon. The wooden house is located in the middle of a flower field. In the distance are rows of pine trees. The scene is extremely romantic. However, tonight, there is no romance, only danger, bloodlust, and brutality. At this moment, 4 dark figures from the woods began to rush towards the house. They moved very fast, but did not make any sound. It was like 4 giant lizards were crawling on the ground. The branches hitting them made a screeching sound, but the sound was not too loud. The sound was drowned out by the wind, their bodies enveloped in darkness. If viewed from the outside, I'm afraid no one would be able to tell that 4 terrifying monsters were approaching. The house is a bit romantic during the day, but at night it appears extremely scary and gloomy, like a haunted house. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The sound of the 4 monsters' bodies rubbing against the tree branches grew closer and closer. In less than 30 seconds, They had reached the house. However, they did not rush inside, but instead crawled around the house. They were indeed like 4 lizards. Their limbs had a membrane, like a lizard's feet, which allowed them to cling to the wall without making any sound. Besides, when clinging to the wall, their speed is also extremely fast. A licker crawled up to the first-floor window, using its nose, ears, and tongue to sense its surroundings. They have no eyes. Whether it is night or day, it is not much different to them. What they rely on is sound and smell. Suddenly, the monster felt uncomfortable, retreated back, and quickly covered its nose with both hands. Thump! It fell to the ground, making a sound like a bag of cement being thrown. Gra! 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 Its mouth made a strange sound, as if it was in great pain, great discomfort. The other 3 lickers seemed to sense that their comrade was in trouble, quickly rushing towards it. Suddenly, ring, ring, ring. The sound was like an alarm clock ringing. In the quiet evening, the sound became even more piercing. Ring, ring, ring. The other 3 lickers also fell to the ground, but they quickly stabilized their bodies and then immediately retreated backwards. However, at this moment, a chain appeared out of nowhere and wrapped tightly around their legs. Gra! 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 A strange sound came from their mouths, accompanied by the sound of chains being scraped. A flash of light shone on all 4 lickers. Bam! At this moment, a huge figure broke through the already rotten wooden wall and rushed towards the 4 lickers. Boom! 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 Every step of that giant body echoed with a heavy sound. Yes, that is Erlgen. A heavy feeling of class difference emanated from him, causing the lickers to be afraid. It is a fear that comes from the soul, from their instincts. Their instincts were screaming that they needed to run. The lickers tried to run away in a hurry, but their legs were chained together. All 4 of them ran, but in 4 different directions, causing them to drag each other. The giant figure naturally did not hesitate. It held the thorn mace and swung it towards a licker. Bam! The thorn mace is made of metal, and the licker's head is their fatal weakness. The thorn mace hit the licker's head, and like a cake, it instantly exploded. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. The lickers stopped running and turned to attack Erlgen. Tongue shot towards him, but clang, kung, clang. The 3 blade-like tongues made a metallic sound as they were unable to penetrate his defenses. This is Erlgen's unique talent. He can make his skin as hard as metal. Erlgen, of course, did not stop. He grabbed a tongue and then pulled it towards him. Bam! The licker was pulled towards him. Before it could fall to the ground, the thorn mace had already smashed its head. The remaining 2 did not dare to stay long. They quickly turned and ran away. Erlgen quickly grabbed the chains, binding their legs, and pulled them back towards him. Jingle, jingle. The sound of chains colliding with each other, along with the sound of the 2 lickers' claws clawing on the ground in vain, created a brutal soundtrack. Bam, bam. Another 2 loud bangs rang out, and the 2 remaining lickers finally died. Gru! Erlgen suddenly roared, his roar echoing throughout the entire area like a warning. This is his area. Anyone who comes near dies. Noan was in the room, using the flash on his phone to shine light outside. Master! SSS suddenly appeared beside him, her arms around his shoulders, her words gentle yet stimulating. There is no longer any danger around. Hearing that, Noah breathed a sigh of relief. Tonight, he had won. The entire battle went without any surprises for Noah. It was all part of his plan. The reason the skeletons didn't join the fight was because they needed to protect Noan. If everyone fought and suddenly a licker rushed into the house, Noan would definitely die. Fortunately, the lickers were indeed just like what he knew. Although they are agile, can move on any terrain, and possess extremely strong tongues, their bodies are very light, and their skin is also very weak. What is special is that they are very sensitive to sounds and strong smells. It was unknown whether the lickers were unlucky or lucky to have met Noan. If they had met anyone else, they would have been easily killed by them. However, SSS can create a special scent, It is 20 times stronger than perfume, and it is a fatal blow to the licker's nose. Erlgan possesses extremely terrifying strength. He can easily break through their weak defenses and is also not afraid of their tongue attacks. In short, Noan has everything those lickers fear. Noan quickly brought the skeletons outside. Even though VYLYSS said it was safe outside, he still had to be a little careful. After all, this is the singularity. Danger is everywhere. Just a little bit of negligence will lead to his death. Noan saw Erlgan standing still, the flash of light shining on him, revealing his body covered in blood and shredded flesh, along with some of the licker's brains. At Erlgan's feet, for headless licker corpses lay, emitting a terrible stench that made Noan cover his nose. He waved his hand, ordering the skeletons to move closer to the 4 corpses and then try to search for something. Very quickly, the skeletons found 4 green stones the size of 2 peas and brought them to Noan. He used a piece of cloth to wipe the blood off the 4 stones, then frowned and looked at them intently. As I thought, they have energy stones in their bodies. Noan thought to himself, if in the normal world transactions are done using credit points, then the currency used by lords to trade with each other is energy stones. It is also divided into many grades. The lowest is still F. However, the highest is currently only S. There is no SS rank energy stone. Why? Because the number of SS rank lords is only 6, but the SS rank monsters are so strong that even if 6 SS rank lords work together, they still cannot defeat them. Therefore, Rank S energy stone is the best type that humanity has ever owned. The lickers are all E+ rank monsters, so they definitely have energy stones in their bodies. Only F rank monsters have a 30 to 50% chance of having energy stones inside them. Otherwise, monsters from rank E and above are certain to possess energy stones inside their bodies. The higher the rank of the energy stone, the greater its value and the more resources it can be exchanged for. If you were to exchange energy stones for credit points, then an E-rank energy stone that Noan was holding could be exchanged for about 2 million credit points. Besides being a currency for trading, energy stones are also a favorite food of monsters. It can replenish energy or even help monsters level up. Noan looked at the energy stone for a moment, then gave one to Erlgan and VYLYSS each. Erlgan took the energy stone into his hand, a joyful smile on his face. However, perhaps because he was so ugly when he smiled, he looked extremely ferocious, as if he was about to eat Noan. VYLYSS was different. She held the energy stone in her hand, her eyes showing a bit of hatred. She then gave it back to Noan. Noan asked in confusion, "You don't need the energy stone?" "Master!" VYLYSS suddenly stretched out her index finger, lifted Noan's chin, and smiled greedily. "How can this energy stone compare to the milky energy you are about to bestow upon me, Master?" Noan shuddered. He naturally knew the milky energy that VYLYSS was talking about. It seems she really only cares about that, and the energy she needs actually comes from the life energy she absorbed from men. Noan nodded slightly and said, "Wait until the territory construction is complete." VYLYSS pouted in dissatisfaction, but Noan didn't want to comfort her. If he comforted her now, she would probably push him down on the bed and then drain the life energy inside him. Noan sat on the sofa. Outside, the skeleton and Erlgan were on guard. Especially Erlgan. After being given the energy stone by Noan, he was so happy that he still couldn't sleep. He just kept looking at the stone in the dark like an idiot. Noan sat still while waiting for time to pass. As for VYLYSS, he did not know where she was. "Ding! Do you want to install the apocalyptic bunker structure now?" Seeing the notice board appear in front of him, Noan quickly said, "Install immediately." "Ding! Please wait a moment." Immediately after, the house began to shake violently. But the wooden walls that were already rotten did not collapse. On the contrary, they gradually turned into walls built of stone. A moment later, the vibration disappeared, and a notification panel appeared in front of Noan again. "Ding! Congratulations on successfully constructing the apocalyptic bunker. You get the following benefits. Soldiers' combat power increased by 2%. Heroes' combat power increased by 5%. Construction time of other projects is reduced by 10%. The number of soldiers that can be summoned, rank D or below, has a 10% chance of being doubled. The exterior of the house remains the same, but the interior is gradually changing. The entire first floor of the house was combined into a single room, designed to accommodate a group of soldiers defending the place. The second floor and attic become observation areas. The special thing is the basement. Now, the basement is a system of 3 floors. Each floor has an area twice as large as the original area of the house. Of course, dividing the room and installing the furniture will take a long time. Fortunately, the summoning area, although located on the deepest floor, was much wider and higher than before, and even had the function of teleporting monsters to the surface. Even if Noan summoned a monster like Erlgan, there would be no need to worry about moving from the basement to the surface. Noan chose Apocalyptic Bunker because in a world filled with dangerous zombies like this, a bunker is the best choice. If his monsters can't fight the monsters, he can hide underground. Noan went down to the basement, chose a fairly large room as his private room, then used the remaining wood and stone materials to buy more furniture. Looking at the bedroom that was already filled with everything, he felt extremely satisfied, especially the bed with a width and length of nearly 3 meters. He felt he could have a good night's sleep tonight. "Master, it's very cold for you to lie alone on such a big bed." Noan was startled when he heard VYLYSS's voice ringing in his ears. She was standing beside him without him knowing, her 2 arms tightly hugging his arms which were tucked between his 2 soft mountains. "Master, let me warm you up." VYLYSS smiled greedily. That smile seemed like it wanted to eat him right now. Noan swallowed. His body was hot, as if he had a fever, as his desires started to burn intensely. VYLSS's 2 hands gently touched Noan's back. They seemed to carry some strange magic, making the place she touched seem hotter. Noan gritted his teeth and immediately sat on the edge of the bed, softly saying, "Just a little bit, understand?" VYLSS did not feel disappointed by his words. On the contrary, she tied her hair up, then stuck out her tongue for him to see. Noan was startled because her tongue seemed to be twice as long as a normal person's. The tip of the tongue was thin and slightly pointed. The tongue moved smoothly like a snake, with a little bit of clear, sticky saliva on top. Suddenly, Noan felt that tongue was extremely seductive, and he also knew what VYLSS was preparing to do. Just then, a scent made Noan's mind start to become hazy. He saw VYLSS sitting down between his legs, her face filled with greed and joy. She licked her lips as she began to touch that place. She suddenly raised her head to look at him and asked, "Master, is this your first time?" Noan sighed and nodded slightly. At this moment, VYLSS's face turned red, showing extreme excitement. "Master, do you know that this is also my first time?" You, Before Noan could reply, he felt his thing being enveloped in something warm, soft, and slimy. From the beginning until now, from living on Earth until now, this was the most wonderful feeling he had ever felt. He didn't want to think anymore. He just wanted to let desire take over his mind. A succubus was indeed born for this. VYLSS just used her mouth and made him feel like this. If he slept with her, he's afraid. After a while, Noan couldn't hold back anymore, immediately giving VYLSS the milky life she needed. VYLSS held the thing tightly in her mouth, as if trying to swallow it all, not leaving a single bit behind. After a moment, VYLSS licked her lips, a satisfied smile appearing on her face. Noan didn't know if it was his illusion or if VYLSS really seemed to be emitting a bit of a pink aura. However, that halo only appears and disappears in a tiny moment. Noan breathed a sigh of relief, feeling his body seemed a little empty. What's worse is the scene before him suddenly distorted. Then his mind gradually fell into darkness. Master! VYLSS saw Noan leaning back, lying on the bed, his face looking like he was sleeping. She smiled happily and joyfully, lying on top of him, pressing her face against his chest, pressing her two soft mountains against his stomach. "Thank you for the meal, master." Noan slowly woke up. He didn't know how much time had passed. However, he felt his body was very heavy. So heavy that even opening his eyes was extremely difficult. Noan tried to open his eyes. However, what caught his eyes were two large, white, soft mountains, accompanied by a scent so alluring that he just wanted to continue lying still and enjoy this feeling forever. However, he gritted his teeth and tried to push VYLYSS away. Master, you're awake?" VYLYSS said happily when she saw Noan awake. Noan let out a sigh, feeling his body completely empty. At this moment, he realized the reason why the lord who slept with the succubus before died. She just used her mouth, and he was already about to die. If she really did that to him, he's afraid he would definitely die for being drained of his life energy. VYLYSS. Noan sighed and said, "You will need to learn how to be a vegetarian for a long period of time." VYLYSS. Sigma, degree. After feeling more awake, Noan went to the top floor of the shelter and started his daily routine. VYLYSS looked like she was struck by lightning after hearing the word vegetarian. She just sat still in the bedroom, refusing to go out. Noan sighed. If he didn't give that order, he was afraid she would squeeze him dry, drying him up like a stick. It must be known that his physical strength has increased greatly since he created the warrior skeleton and warrior high orc. However, just having fun with VYLYSS made him unconscious for more than 12 hours, and after waking up, he didn't even have enough strength to open his eyes. Therefore, he had no choice but to defend himself by forcing VYLYSS to become a vegetarian. Noan suddenly remembered the question she asked him before they started. At that time, she said that this was her first time too. Coupled with VYLYSS's description, it seems what she said is true. VYLYSS worships both the goddess of lust and the goddess of purity, so she only loves and is loyal to one person. Noan sighed and shook his head. He didn't want to think anymore. He stood before the summoning pool created from the Lord's core. Behind him were all the skeletons he had summoned and fused. Ding! Do you want to use today's soldier summoning? Yes. Ding! Summoning is starting. Immediately after, from within the summoned lake, 10 skeletons began to crawl out, then knelt on the ground in front of Noan. Noan sighed. The apocalyptic bunker building had a good effect that had a 10% chance of doubling the number of soldiers he summoned. Just now, he had hoped that the probability would be activated, but perhaps 10% was still too low. As of now, Noan owns 2 F+ skeletons and 14 F-rank skeletons. Noan thought for a moment, deciding to merge everything. After the decision was made, all the F-rank skeletons turned into light particles and then fused together, except for the remaining 2 F-rank skeletons that could not fuse due to lack of materials. 12 rank F skeletons turned into 4 F+ rank warrior skeletons. At this moment, Noan was disappointed once again. He thought that there would be a chance of mutated skeletons appearing. At this point, he had 6 warrior skeletons. Noan continued to fuse the current 6 warrior skeletons into 2 higher-level skeletons. Finally, in front of Noan appeared 2 skeletons taller than 180 centimeters, one holding a sword, the other holding a shield. He sighed. Still no mutated skeleton appeared, it seemed. Today was not his lucky day. Noan clenched his fists, feeling that his strength had increased quite a bit. However, it wasn't as much as yesterday, when the Erlgan summoning was successful. If yesterday, Noan shook his head, not wanting to think anymore, and opened the information panel to see how strong the 2 new skeletons were. Name, Warrior High Skeleton. Rank E. Description, tireless fighters, their sturdy skeletons increase their defenses. In particular, Warrior High Skeletons are no longer slow. They can move very quickly. At this rank, skeletons can hear and understand somewhat complex commands. Looking at the 2 E-rank skeletons, Noan felt that there weren't too many changes. Perhaps, if they weren't mutated monsters, then perhaps they were just like normal soldiers. Noan thought to himself, thinking back to yesterday, just one mutation was enough to create a terrifying monster like Erlgan. Noan didn't feel too sad. After all, he possessed SSS rank talent. As long as he had enough time, he could definitely become stronger. Ding! You have a message from Lord Lilia. Noan suddenly remembered something important to do, which was to text Lilia to let her know that he was still alive. He quickly opened the chat box and saw Lilia's message. Lilia, oi, I see your name is still shining. You are definitely not dead. Quickly reply to my message. Noan chuckled. He knew what Lilia meant. When two lords have exchanged contact with each other, if the other party's name is still lit in the chat list, it means that person is still alive. If their name is no longer shining, there are only two possibilities. Either the person has returned to the city, or that person is dead. Noan, don't worry, I'm still alive. Lilia, good. Don't die early. Remember to invite me to a really fancy restaurant. Otherwise, I'll bring soldiers to destroy your territory and make you my slave. Noan, what kind of slave? Sex slave. Lilia, AAA, pervert. I won't talk to you anymore. After Lilia left the chat, Noan was not idle either. He continued to search the trade section to see if anyone was selling defensive equipment. Not for his monsters or his heroes, but for himself. Although his strength had increased compared to this world, he was just a piece of meat that could move. Also, since he was brought to the singularity, he needed to ensure his own safety first. After searching for a while, Noan finally gave up on buying equipment. Most of the equipment was very expensive. A poor guy with only 3 E-rank energy stones like him couldn't buy it. Noan brought 2 E-rank skeletons and 2 F-rank skeletons to the surface via the bunker elevator. On the ground, Erlgen seemed to be feeling very excited. When he saw Noan, he immediately went forward, knelt on the ground, and bowed his head respectfully. Noble master, please allow me to praise you. Noan nodded slightly. He ordered, Let's go. Today we will go hunting. In the city, some zombies walking on the street were beheaded by 2 skeleton-like monsters. Then their feet immediately crushed the heads of those zombies. The 2 skeletons walking behind quickly dug through the pile of rotten flesh as if searching for something. When they found the small bean-sized stone that emitted a faint gray light, the 2 skeletons put it in a small bag hanging on their hips. The work continued like this. The zombies on the road heard the loud sound and immediately rushed over. However, they moved extremely slowly. So how could they be opponents for the warrior high skeleton? Even though surrounded by a lot of zombies, the 2 skeletons still fought easily because they didn't know fatigue or fear. Besides, skeletons are not afraid of being bitten by zombies. Their bones are also twice as hard as the bones of normal skeletons. Noan stood in the distance, observing the entire situation. Erlgen stood beside him like a guardian angel, ensuring his safety. At this moment, Noan felt that he was really lucky that he was only an F-rank lord and could only summon skeletons. If he summoned another monster, he probably wouldn't be able to fight zombies so comfortably. According to the knowledge he learnt in the academy, the virus in a zombie's body can infect monsters. There are many cases where the Lord's soldiers are infected with the virus from zombies, and then they kill the Lord. It cannot be said that the soldiers betrayed their lords, but only that the soldier died. The contract of absolute loyalty was cancelled. After becoming zombies, there is no longer any relationship between soldiers and lords. Even heroes are susceptible to the zombie virus. However, with skeletons, they are not normal living creatures. They exist only thanks to energy. As Noan watched the 2 high skeleton warriors, who were like 2 wolves lost among sheep, he felt happy in his heart. The zombies in front of those 2 skeletons were like pudding. The 2 F-rank skeletons would act as looters. After all, he didn't want to rummage through that pile of rotting flesh looking for energy stones. Besides, F-rank skeletons can hear and carry out simple commands, so this is not difficult for them. Noan sighed. He risked hunting because he really needed the energy stone. Lords need to have enough resources to level up, especially energy stones. Soldiers and heroes need energy stones to level up. Notably, his skeletons do not survive by eating, but by absorbing energy stones to replenish their own energy. Trading or buying resources, equipment, etc. also requires the use of energy stones. It can be said that energy stones are the almighty currency, so Noan needs to earn more energy stones. He couldn't hide inside the bunker forever. That would be no different from committing suicide. Noan raised his head and looked into the distant sky. There, SSS was flying high in the sky, waving a piece of red cloth. He knew that meant there were high-level zombies ahead. He needed to be careful. SSS will take on the role of information gathering, and Erlgen will protect him or fight if he encounters high-level monsters. What about bunker defense? No need to defend. This place is a zombie world after all. Will there be zombies so intelligent that they ambush inside his bunker? Besides, his bunker was sealed. If someone other than him wanted to get inside, they would have to break the wall or door. It's so easy to tell there's an intruder. The massacre lasted for 2 hours straight, and in the end, Noan only collected 70 F rank energy stones. He sighed. He felt that it was a bit slow. The rate of energy stones appearing inside a zombie's body was too low, only about 40 to 50%. Currently, for Noan to be able to level up, he needs 1,000 F rank energy stones. If this continues, I don't know when I'll be able to level up. Noan thought to himself. If the other lords were to hear his thoughts, he would probably be beaten to death by them. When new lords arrive in a new land, the first thing they think about is adapting to the new life, gathering resources, and fighting constantly. Then try to survive, and finally think about leveling up. As for him, he was sent to this singularity, but instead of worrying about survival, he was worried about leveling up. I'm afraid Noan is the only one who can adapt this quickly to the singularity. As for the others, after being brought to the singularity, they all died. Noan was right to worry about this because he could see that there weren't many zombies in this place. Usually, in the city, the number of zombies will be very large, so many that a zombie flood can appear. However, the zombies in the city were strangely few. But Noan quickly found out why the number of zombies in this place was so small. Judging by the state of decomposition of many zombies, the zombie apocalypse here must have been over for quite some time. Besides, due to how the trees pierced the road surface to grow, it could be deduced that the zombie disaster site must have been at least 5 to 7 years old. The undecayed zombies were probably the last survivors in this place. Good news, fewer zombies, less danger. Bad news, zombies are few, and it's hard for him to find energy stones. Extremely bad news. As time passed, perhaps, the zombies here have evolved and become much stronger. If he had come at the beginning of the zombie apocalypse, he would probably have become the overlord of this place. However, the zombie disaster seemed to have been over for many years, and he was unclear about how much the zombies in this place had evolved. But he knew one thing. This place was definitely many times more dangerous than the territory reserved for a new lord. Crack! While Noan was thinking, Erlgen, who was standing next to him, suddenly clenched his fist so hard that it made a sound similar to a tree branch breaking. Noan glanced at Erlgen, who was trying to restrain himself, and sighed. He forgot that the orcs, especially the high orcs, all had an interest and passion for fighting. It's like opium to them. If they don't fight, they will become irritable and easily go crazy. Noan raised his head to look at SSS flying in the sky. She was waving her red scarf at him, and his eyes gradually became sharper. Erlgen, hearing Noan's voice, Erlgen hurriedly bowed his head. Master, go, but be careful. Erlgen smiled ferociously, revealing his large and frighteningly sharp teeth. Yes, noble master. In a large cave made from a ruined building and countless pieces of the structure, a horde of lickers were hiding inside. Jingle, jingle. In the eerily quiet space, suddenly, a strange sound rang out. Jingle, jingle. It was like the sound of a chain being dragged across the ground by someone, which immediately caught the licker's attention. GRA, 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 GRA. The lickers began to stretch out their long, pointed tongues, crawling towards the sound. Their speed was extremely fast, crawling towards the entrance of the tunnel created from these ruined buildings. Jingle, 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 jingle. The closer they crawled to the light, the louder and more intense the sound became. Although they were afraid of the heat of the sun, hunger and instinct were urging them to crawl out of the cave. The fastest licker was about to burst out of its cave, stretching its long tongue as far forward as it could, as if it wanted to be the first to taste its favorite food. 10 meters, 5 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter. The distance was instantly shortened. As soon as that licker rushed out of the cave, its tongue stabbed towards the dark figure in front. However, come, licker. The pain from its tongue made it feel confused. There was clearly a living creature in front of it. Why couldn't its tongue pierce through it? Wait, why is this creature in front of him twice as big as him? It didn't know, however, that in this tiny moment, something black was swinging towards its head. Boom! A loud explosion rang out. Not only the head, but also the upper body of the licker monster exploded, leaving only the belly down, falling on the ground. Blood, organs, and countless pieces of flesh were scattered everywhere. The scene was so brutal and bloody that even Noan, who was standing far away, felt nauseous. The lickers inside were startled. Although they couldn't see Erlgen, their instincts and souls were filled with fear. The lickers turned and ran into the cave, but inside was a dead end. Erlgen smiled ferociously, then entered the cave. Fortunately, although the cave was small, it was still more than 3 meters high, enough for Erlgen to enter inside. Then, Noan heard countless sounds like continuous explosions. He knew a carnal feast was taking place, and the main character of that feast was Erlgen. VYLYSS used magic to sense where the cave led. Fortunately for Erlgen, it was a dead end, so no licker could escape. The explosions and screams echoed throughout the cave as if it were the entrance to hell. The stench of blood and decay wafted out from inside, making Noan unable to bear it and forcing him to retreat. A moment later, Erlgen walked out, his blue skin now seemingly red. He was covered in licker flesh, and there was even a long piece of intestine hanging from his shoulder. On his neck, 2 tongues were still wrapped tightly, as if wanting to strangle him. Erlgen bared his teeth, revealing a ferocious smile, like a devil crawling out from the depths of hell. Too horrible. Noan now felt that he was really lucky to create Erlgen. He was like a fighting machine, and also the nemesis of lickers. In the small space like the cave in front of him, no matter how fast the lickers were, they couldn't escape because Erlgen's body almost covered the entire cave. Besides, the lickers' tongues could not penetrate Erlgen's skin. Erlgen entered the cave like a wolf entering a carnal feast. All that was left for Erlgen to do was enjoy the feast. Noan ordered 2 Rank F skeletons to go inside to search for energy stones. VYLYSS, standing beside Noan, suddenly frowned, as if sensing something. Noan saw that and asked in confusion, "What's the matter?" VYLYSS did not answer immediately but looked around. "I don't know, but I seem to feel something terrible is coming." Noan was a bit surprised when he heard that. "Can't you feel what that is?" VYLYSS shook her head slightly, her face becoming extremely serious. "I don't know either. The other party seems to know how to hide their existence, so I can't sense it. Or maybe I was wrong." Hearing that, Noan did not dare to take it lightly. He immediately stood up and looked around. This place is not a place for beginners anyway. This place is the singularity point, an extremely dangerous place. If he is even a little careless, he will face death. Not good. I should go back. Noan looked into the distance, deciding to return to the bunker. The terrain here is too dangerous. There are ruined buildings everywhere, and there are too many places for other monsters to hide. If there really was a high-level zombie, then even if Erlgen or VYLYSS fought together, they wouldn't be able to protect him. Noan hurriedly took Erlgen, VYLSYS, and the 4 skeletons and left. Although the 2 skeletons had only taken 6 energy crystals from the lickers inside the cave, his life was more important. If he is still alive, he can return here to continue harvesting the remaining energy crystals, or he can continue hunting to gather more resources. But if he dies, it's all over. Noan took all the monsters in VYLYSS and quickly started returning to the bunker. He decided to move in the middle of the highway. At least there weren't any structures to block it. Even if there were monsters, they wouldn't be able to hide. "Master!" VYLYSS immediately shouted. Noan, startled, turned back. At this moment, he saw a black shadow rushing towards him at an extremely terrifying speed. Noan didn't have time to react. He could only watch that dark figure getting closer and closer, as if death was coming to take him away. Suddenly, at this moment, a black streak appeared beside him, swung straight towards the black shadow that was charging towards him. Bam! A loud bang rang out as Erlgen's thorn mace collided with the black figure. The force of the collision was so terrifying that it created a hurricane, blowing Noan backwards. He fell to the ground, but immediately got up. For skeletons stood in front of him, ready to act as his shield. Noan looked forward. He saw that the black shadow, after colliding with Erlgen's thorn mace, seemed to be uninjured but only retreated a little. At this moment, he saw the black shadow clearly, and of course, he knew clearly what that black shadow was. "Hunter," Noan muttered, his face showing worry and tension. The zombie looked like a lizard in fantasy novels with huge muscles and strong legs like a kangaroo's. Its two big, long hands, which contained sharp claws, could cut through a tree trunk more than 20 centimeters thick like cutting through a cake. The bizarre head resembled that of a turtle with sharp fangs that could easily crush human bones. Unlike in zombie games on Earth, hunters in this world are extremely strong. Not only its speed, but its physical strength is also extremely terrifying. It was truly a perfect killing machine. Its rank was D peak, approaching C rank. Looking at the rank, people probably wouldn't think that Erlgen is much inferior to a hunter. However, they would be wrong. The higher the rank, the bigger the difference. Typical examples are Erlgen and Licker. Erlgen's rank is D+, while Licker's is E+. However, Erlgen alone can easily slaughter a whole group of Lickers. The case now is the same. Hunter is rank D peak, although only a small level higher than Erlgen's rank, but the difference is very large. VYLYSS, support Erlgen. Hearing Noan's command, VYLYSS also immediately swung her arms up. Chains shot out from her palms, rushing towards Hunter. However, its speed was too fast. The chains couldn't touch it. "Grah!" Erlgen roared as he charged towards Hunter. The thorn mace in his hand was swung towards Hunter with all his might. Hunter suddenly dodged to the side, then charged towards VYLYSS. It was so fast that Noan couldn't even see how it moved. Only a dark shadow was seen stretching across the ground. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of VYLYSS. The hunter then swung his sharp claws up, chopping down on her head. Jingle! Suddenly, the sound of chains colliding rang out as the hunter's huge arm was tied up by countless chains, hanging in the air, unable to come down. Noan was a bit surprised. He didn't think that VYLYSS's chains could bind a hunter. It must be known that even though VYLYSS is a D-rank hero, she is like a mage. Her physical strength cannot be compared to the hunter or Erlgen. But, looking at the chains binding Hunter's arms, Noan could hardly believe his eyes. However, Noan saw that those chains all had anchor points. To be exact, VYLYSS had attached countless chains to the surrounding structures without him knowing. When the hunter attacked her, those chains immediately bounded. VYLYSS did not lose any strength, but the surrounding structures anchored the hunter with their own weight. No matter how strong the hunter was, it couldn't possibly pull down the countless concrete pillars of the surrounding buildings. At this moment, VYLYSS's eyes suddenly emitted a strange pink light. A stream of pink smoke flew towards Hunter, surrounding its head. Grew! Hunter tried to struggle as if something was making him feel extremely uncomfortable, but the chains naturally wouldn't let him go. Grew! Erlgen turned back now, angrily swinging its thorn mace up, using all its strength to smash it towards Hunter's head. However, the hunter, even though tied up, was still able to swing his arm back, blocking the thorn mace that was swinging toward his head. Bam! The two sides collided fiercely. The air pressure exploded, forming a hurricane that blew out all around. But Erlgen seemed to have gone mad. His eyes were red as blood. It continued to swing the thorn mace towards Hunter. Bam! 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 The hunter wanted to block, but the pink smoke made it impossible to concentrate. VYLYSS waved her hand, and at this moment, other chains shot out from her palm, shooting into the distance. Jingle, jingle, jingle. The sound of chains echoed through the rubble from the collapsed buildings. Then they returned, binding Hunter. Noan knew VYLYSS was adding more chains to imprison the hunter. Erlgen seemed to have gone crazy at this point. Not only did he hit the hunter's head, he also hit its entire body. It was as if Erlgen was swinging the thorn mace by instinct. Bam! Bam! Even if the hunter was rank D-peak, he could not resist the power and coordination of VYLYSS and Erlgen. However, he underestimated the hunter. Even though it was hit by Erlgen's thorn mace, the hunter was not too badly injured. His body was covered in blood, but if you looked closely, he only had torn skin and minor injuries. But Noan looked at VYLYSS, her face covered in sweat. Even though she had used anchor points to bind Hunter, these chains were made from her magic. To maintain them, VYLYSS had to concentrate extremely hard and use a lot of energy. Noan knew this situation could not last. Otherwise, he would definitely lose. Gree! Clang! The hunter suddenly roared. It used its strength and broke VYLYSS chains. It swung its arm, slashing towards Erlgen, its sharp claws slashing against the thorn mace, creating a metallic clashing sound. Its force was so great that it forced Erlgen to retreat. Suddenly, Hunter stopped attacking Erlgen and instead charged towards VYLYSS. At this moment, VYLYSS felt pain in her body as her magical chains broke, turning into countless black dust particles. At this moment, before she could regain consciousness, Hunter appeared before her. Its claws swung up, aimed straight at her head, and once again came down. VYLYSS was startled. The hunter's speed was too fast. She couldn't react in time. She could only watch its claws getting closer and closer to her head. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. There was no pain or blood like VYLYSS expected. She only saw two skeletons holding shields and swords standing in front of her. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her shoulder and pulled her back. Master! VYLYSS discovered that Noan had come to her side without her knowing. Perhaps because she was so focused on Hunter that she didn't realize that Noan had come up beside her. Don't talk too much. Let's run quickly. The sun is about to set. Noan said worriedly. The hunter, although very strong, in its current condition, cannot exert its full power. But when the sun sets and night falls, that's when it can unleash its full power. It's not for nothing that people nicknamed him Hunter, because in the dark, it is really a hunter. Erlgen now charged towards the hunter, swinging his thorn mace, but whoosh, the wind whistled. The thorn mace missed the hunter, as it only swung through the air. The hunter immediately retreated, its eyes looking towards Noan and VYLYSS filled with hatred. But it knew the time was coming when it could unleash its full power, so it was in no hurry. Run, Erlgen! Erlgen hesitated a bit when he heard Noan's voice. He looked at Hunter, then gritted his teeth and ran after Noan. Master, we need to travel a very long distance to return to the shelter. I'm afraid. VYLYSS reminded Noan. Noan gritted his teeth and said, Of course I know that, but we can't face it right now. Especially when the sun sets, its power is even more terrifying. VYLYSS fell silent upon hearing that. She could see the extreme tension showing on his face. Suddenly, Noan stopped, looked into the distance, and frowned, saying, VYLYSS, I have an idea. Immediately after, Noan, VYLYSS, and Erlgen, along with the four skeletons, suddenly split up, running in different directions. The hunter, who was hiding in the dark, did not act, but he stared at VYLYSS. The sun gradually fell in the distance, and darkness also slowly invaded this world, like a dark curtain, slowly covering the entire sky. Although darkness had not yet enveloped the entire city, this place was still so dark that it was difficult for normal human eyes to see anything. After all, this world has been through a zombie apocalypse for many years. There's no longer any power source or light that still emits light. The hunter paid no attention to Noan or Erlgen, only to VYLYSS. Its eyes carried extreme greed and hunger. Seeing VYLYSS running around, then taking shelter in a pile of rubble, Hunter remained still and waited. When darkness completely engulfed this world, leaving only darkness, the hunter began to walk out of the ruins. In the dark, its eyes are like infrared glasses, able to see everything as clearly as during the day. Its body was very large. If it stood upright, it would probably be over 2 meters tall, but when it moved, it was extremely light, making almost no sound at all. It stared at where VYLYSS was hiding, but made no haste to act. Like a wild animal hunting for prey, it does not rush towards its prey, but lies still and observes first. VYLYSS suddenly rushed out and then walked towards an extremely tall building in the distance. It seemed to be the tallest building still standing until now. Seeing VYLYSS enter inside, it also started moving, slow and gentle, not making any sound. The hunter seemed to blend into the darkness. However, its sharp claws extended as if in dire need of fresh blood. The hunter entered the building. In the lobby, VYLYSS was looking at something, not moving but standing still. Seeing her standing still, Hunter did not rush towards her but remained hidden in a mysterious place. Although darkness had fallen across the city, it was already dark outside and even darker inside the building. It was so dark that even if you held your hand in front of your face, you wouldn't see it clearly, but the hunter was still hiding in a mysterious place, which showed that he was very careful. The hunter saw VYLYSS start to turn away from it, then slowly walk deeper into the building. At this point, it started to act. Each step it took on the ground was extremely light, in complete contrast to its massive body. Step by step, slowly getting closer to VYLYSS. When the distance between it and her was less than 10 meters, at this moment, it suddenly bent down slightly. Then, bam! A terrible sound rang out as its foot stomped on the ground, causing it to shatter. The tremendous recoil made it like a bullet as it shot towards VYLYSS. The 10-meter distance was shortened in the blink of an eye. Its claws extended, slashing towards VYLYSS. Whoosh! The whistling sound of wind was created by Hunter's claws, but as VYLYSS was cut into pieces, her body suddenly turned into a stream of black smoke, then dissipated. Hunter was startled. He didn't understand what was happening. Why did VYLYSS disappear? Bang! 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 Suddenly, countless explosions rang out. It was like the sound of steel bars being violently broken. Hunter raised his head. He felt something coming down, and his instincts were telling him to run. It immediately rushed out. However, Erlgen suddenly appeared in front of it, swinging the thorn mace in its hand. Bam! The enormous force sent Hunter flying backwards. Although it wasn't too badly injured, it was a bit stunned. Erlgen was no better. He felt pain in both hands holding the thorn mace, proving that the collision just now was extremely terrible. Jingle! Jingle! While the hunter was still unconscious, countless chains suddenly appeared and wrapped tightly around him. Those chains weren't very strong, but they wrapped tightly around the surrounding pillars, then tied up Hunter, making it difficult for him to move. Bam! 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 There was a loud bang. The whole building shook violently, as if an earthquake was happening. Hunter tried to move, but as soon as it did, Erlgen lunged in front of it, swinging his thorn mace repeatedly, stunning it further. It knew something dangerous was falling, but it couldn't move, much less avoid it. Erlgen's constant attacks forced it to fight back, the chains restricting its movements. Enough! Suddenly, Noan's voice rang out. Erlgen heard that and immediately jumped back, then ran out of the building. Instinctively, Hunter also wanted to run, but it was too late. A giant steel ball, along with countless pieces of debris from the upper floors, fell down. Greek! Bam! A loud bang rang out. The great hall instantly shattered. The steel ball crushed the hunter, breaking the ground of the first floor, then falling into the basement. Bam! Bam! Boom! 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 The steel ball pressed down on the top floor, causing the ground to shatter. The entire building shook violently, then began to collapse. The sound of steel columns breaking echoed throughout the city. In the quiet of the night, it became even more piercing and terrifying. The building collapsed, dust flew up, and pieces of the building were scattered all around. The entire city also trembled a little. The roads and surrounding buildings that were already severely degraded also collapsed. More than 10 minutes later, the entire space fell silent again. Noan stood more than 200 meters away, hiding in a pile of rubble. Luckily, this place wasn't affected much. Otherwise, he would also be in danger. For skeletons surrounded him to guard against danger. VYLYSS flew above him, looking into the distance. Although she couldn't see, she possessed sensory magic and was able to sense everything around her, but her range of action wasn't very large. Erlgen also came out from the smoke at this moment and stood beside Noan. Looks like the hunter is really dead. Noan thought to himself. At first, he couldn't find a way to kill the hunter because the hunter's power was too overwhelming. Coupled with the arrival of the darkness, the hunter further unleashed its abilities, making it nearly invincible. But when he saw this building, Noan knew that he had a chance to defeat Hunter. This building is over 60 stories tall, and just as Noan thought, there is a balanced pendulum in this building. Buildings that are too tall are susceptible to many things, especially wind and earthquakes. Therefore, engineers have come up with a solution called balance pendulum. They put a steel pendulum weighing hundreds of tons at the top of the very tall buildings. If the building shakes, the pendulum will swing in the opposite direction, which keeps the building balanced during a windstorm or earthquake. The building that just collapsed also had a giant steel pendulum anchored to the top of the building. Noan estimated that its weight could exceed 300 to 400 tons. The next step was to trick the hunter into entering the building, right where the steel ball could fall. And most importantly, make sure the hunter is in the exact spot where the steel ball will hit. Naturally, VYLYSS and Erlgen successfully completed this difficult task. As for why the hunter followed VYLYSS and not Noan or Erlgen, Noan already knew the reason. Because when VYLYSS was attacked by it, she used charm magic on the hunter. That's why, even though they all ran away, he was still enchanted by her, causing his lust to flare up. Of course, its desire was to eat. It really wanted to eat VYLYSS, which was also the reason it followed her. Noan took advantage of that and used VYLYSS to trick the hunter into entering this building, which then led to this outcome. It's just that, although Noan felt happy, he also knew that this time it was just his luck. If he hadn't come across this building, if the hunter hadn't followed VYLYSS and had decided to attack him and everyone else without waiting until dark. Too many ifs. If just one of the situations he just thought of happened, he would definitely fail, and he would have to face death. But Lady Luck smiled on him. The hunter was killed. Noan wanted to go inside the hole that was more than 20 meters deep and under the rubble to find Hunter's energy stone. However, he is not that stupid. He naturally did not want to risk taking an energy stone. Even if it was a D-rank energy stone, which could be sold for over 200 million credits or more, his life was still more important. This was not a safe zone. This was the singularity. If he is careless, he will definitely die. That's why Noan hurriedly brought everyone back to the bunker, the only place that could make him feel safe. VYLYSS suddenly frowned. She looked towards the ruins of the building at this moment, as she seemed to sense something. However, she didn't seem to care about it anymore and hurriedly followed behind Noan. After a while, he finally returned to the bunker. He threw an F-rank energy stone each to Erlgen and VYLYSS, then threw another 10 F-rank energy stones into the pool. The summoning lake also has another function. It can draw energy from the energy stone and then distribute it to all the soldiers it has summoned. Erlgen was an exception. Although he was a soldier, his rank was too high, and besides, his ability to absorb energy was too much. Therefore, it was normal for Noan to feed him more. When he was done, Noan lay down on the soft bed, breathing a sigh of relief. In just 2 days, he had faced monsters that most new landlords probably couldn't face. No, it's only been 2 days. The new landlords are probably still gathering resources, building territories, and getting used to fighting. As for him, On the first day, he had to face a group of rank E+ lickers. Today, he had to face an extremely terrifying enemy, a hunter, which was rank D peak. It could be said that in the past 2 days, his life had been threatened many times, and he had also experienced having his life energy sucked out by VYLYSS, so he felt very tired. He was both mentally and physically exhausted. Noan lay on the bed, not in a hurry to go to sleep. Instead, he checked his inventory to see his harvest today. There are more than 50 F rank energy stones and 6 E+ rank stones left. Noan thought to himself, looks like I can only continue to collect more energy stones. He sighed inwardly. After all, there was no resource reserve center in the singularity for him to collect, so he needed to buy resources. Energy stones are used to sustain life and level up soldiers and heroes. But they're also used to level himself up. Energy stones are used to purchase resources and equipment, as well as for trading. Anything related to energy stones, it could be said that he was in dire need of that almighty currency. Noan had no other choice. Even though he knew the outside was full of danger, he had to go hunting. Only then could he survive and develop. He sighed. Before going to sleep, he searched the trading section to see if there were any items he could buy. Anyway, he has quite a few energy stones now. Maybe he can buy something useful. Ding. You have a message from Landlord Lilia. Do you want to receive the message? Noan immediately accepted. Lilia, oi, still alive? Noan felt amused. He started to reply. No, I'm dead, bitten by a zombie. Lilia, huh? I'll bite you to death, you stingy bastard. Noan, what's wrong? Lilia, if there's nothing wrong, can I text you? Noan, no. Miss Lilia can text me anytime. I will definitely reply to you. Lilia, huh? Very good. Are you okay? Noan, it's fine. It's just that the monsters here are too strong. I almost died. Lilia, too many zombies? There are quite a few zombies in my place too. This afternoon, the other lords and I encountered a herd of more than 200 zombies. Luckily, we're fine. Hearing this, Noan frowned and thought to himself, a herd of more than 200 zombies, so it seems that inside that herd of zombies there will be many lickers or even hunters. It seems the other lords are also developing very well. Even if they don't have SSS rank talent like me, they can easily defeat them. Noan sighed. He felt that even though he possessed SSS rank talent, if he didn't try hard, he was afraid that those lords would surpass him. Besides, the place they live is a safe zone. Even if there are zombies, they can cooperate and help each other. There are also resource storage centers where they can be picked up for free. It can be said that they are in a wonderful environment to develop. Noan thought for a moment, then asked, Are you okay? Lilia, it's fine. I'm an A-rank landlord after all. You should worry about yourself better. Do you need my help with something? Noan, not really, but I need more soldier summoning cards. Noan thought for a moment, then added a sentence. I can buy it. Lilia, I don't have a soldier card right now either, but I can ask the other lords. Don't worry, I'll answer you soon. Noan, thank you. Lilia, instead of thanking me, you should choose a restaurant first. Noan, already chosen. It's a very good fried chicken restaurant. Lilia, you should die. I hope you get bitten by a zombie and become a zombie. Noan shook his head, smiling happily. A moment later, Lilia suddenly sent him another message. Lilia, be careful. You have to come back. Noan looked at Lilia's message and felt a little warm inside. Looking at the message, he felt that Lilia was 100 times better than his parents and that bastard little brother. Master! VYLYSS opened the door and walked in, her face filled with joy and excitement. Do you want? No, he sighed and said, just sleep. Don't do anything else. I'm very tired. All right, just sleep, master. VYLYSS gently hugged him. Noan rested his head on those two large and soft mountains, then fell asleep. VYLYSS stroked his hair and patted his back like a gentle mother. Master, you worked hard today. VYLYSS remembered the time she was attacked by Hunter, and Noan saved her. At that moment, her heart seemed to no longer be hers. As a hero, even a low-ranked one, VYLYSS knew well what her fate was. When Noan is in danger, he can either abandon her to run away or turn her into a shield to protect him. But Noan chose differently. He chose to save VYLYSS. That foolish choice made her happy and joyful. VYLYSS bowed her head, gently kissed Noan's forehead, and said with a smile, "Thank you, my master." Elsewhere, Lilia then sent a message to Noan. She pouted in thought, her face extremely adorable. At this moment, an extremely handsome man, wearing a magician's robe, approached Lilia. He gave a friendly smile, like warm sunshine, making every girl swoon. "Lilia, this is your share. You contributed the most, so your share is also the biggest," he said with a smile. Lilia glanced at the young man and shrugged, saying, "I don't need it. You can share it with the others." "That's not good. You've helped everyone a lot anyway. This is what you deserve." Hearing what the young man said, Lilia felt a little troubled. Since that afternoon, the young man kept bothering her and even tried to get close to her. Lilia, of course, knew his intentions. She was aware of how beautiful she was. Anyway, when she was still in the academy, there were many boys surrounding her, wishing to be able to get close to her. Because of that, Lilia knew clearly what that man needed and why he treated her so intimately. But she didn't need those things right now. She was having a headache because she didn't know how to help Noan. Lilia sighed and said, "Yankos, don't worry about me too much." "What are you talking about?" Yankos laughed and said, "We are all landlords and live in the same area anyway. We need to care about each other, right? Besides, you..." Yankos was talking, but suddenly fell silent because he saw Lilia's eyes suddenly turn gray. Yes, it was gray, the color of murder, death, contempt, as if she was looking at a dirty bug. Lilia's face now lost its mischievous look, replaced by cruelty, brutality, and anger. Yankos took a deep breath and swallowed his saliva, his body trembling involuntarily. "Huh." Lilia snorted in disdain, then turned and left. Yankos watched her back until she was out of sight. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. "What the hell? That girl, why does she have such a terrifying killing intent?" Yankos looked at his sweaty palm, but his face now showed a smile. "Very interesting. Lilia, you are very interesting. I will definitely not let you escape from my hands." Lilia returned to her territory, opened the chat box. Inside, there was a group chat with quite a few members inside. "Lilia, I need some soldier summoning cards. Do you have any?" "XXX. Miss, do you need a soldier summoning card? What kind of monster do you need?" "XXX. Of course it's cute monsters like spirit, elf, or feminine monsters." "Lilia, no need to be too strong. Around rank E to D is fine. Just 2 OHM. 3 cards. XXX. Heh. Miss, you're not using it for yourself, are you?" "Lilia, why are you asking so many questions? Can you find what I need?" "XXX. Sorry, Mississippi. I can definitely find it. After all, there are many weak soldier summoning cards like that on the market." "Lilia, wait. I haven't finished talking about the requirements yet. Even though they are rank E or D, they must be good at fighting and have good combat ability. Besides, it doesn't require spending too many resources to level them up." "XXX, that..." "Miss, your request is a bit difficult. After all, from rank E and above, they've already started absorbing energy stones instead of almighty food." "Lilia, don't talk too much." "XXX, Miss, don't be angry. Actually, there's a type of monster that meets your request. It's the goblin." "XXX, just as you said, goblin really does satisfy all of those requirements." "XXX, why didn't I think of that kind of monster sooner?" "XXX, goblins are the cheapest E-rank monsters. Their combat power isn't good, but if they fight in packs, they'll be quite terrifying. Besides, they don't need to absorb energy stones. As long as they have enough almighty food or the meat of other monsters, they can continue to function normally." "Lilia, good. Send me 3 goblin summoning cards." "XXX, yes, ma'am." Lilia turned off the chat interface, then sat on a large rock. She swung her legs while looking at the dark, moonless sky. "Noan," she muttered, "you have to go back. You can't die." Her eyes looked into the distance, as if she was remembering something. In the collapsed building, the space was eerily quiet. Only cold winds blew, carrying dust particles throughout the city. Suddenly, a figure appeared, standing on the ruins of that building. The person was wearing a black cloak that covered her body and face. but it was obvious that she was a woman. She looked down at her feet, seemingly able to see through the rubble. How interesting. The woman suddenly smiled strangely, muttering, "A rookie being able to kill a hunter, truly very interesting. However, I want to see if you have anything else besides luck." The woman waved her hand, and on the ground, a magic symbol suddenly appeared and emitted a dazzling light. Roar, 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 crit, crit, crit. Countless screams came from that magical symbol, and immediately after, numerous lickers swarmed out like a swarm of ants. However, the strange thing was that after rushing out of the magic symbol on the ground, they did not move around but sat still on the ground. The woman pointed towards Noan's bunker, her strangely purple-painted lips moving. Go! Crit! 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 The lickers stretched out their long tongues and made strange noises, then ran towards Noan's bunker. Noan was immersed in VYLYSS's softness. Suddenly, the strange sound from the system made him unable to sleep. Ding! You received a message from Lilia. 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 No! In his heart, he cursed. Lilia, aren't you sleeping? You're not sleeping, but I want to sleep. Although he was uncomfortable, he still had to open his eyes. What greeted his face were two white and pink mountains. Hidden beneath the thin layer of skin were blue and red veins that made it look even more alluring. Noan is not the type of man who gets scared and stays away from attractive things like the male protagonists in Japanese manga. He bowed his head, burying his face into the deep chasm between those two great mountains. He also didn't hesitate to rub his face to feel more of the softness and warmth coming from them. Master! When VYLYSS felt Noan's face rubbing against her body, she was so excited that her face turned red. Her eyes were dreamy, and she hugged him tightly as she immersed herself in this feeling. From VYLYSS's mouth, a moaning sound came out that almost made Noan lose control. He sighed and pushed her away. Master! VYLYSS panted, her flushed face making her even more alluring, her wet eyes looking at him as if saying she wanted more. All right, I don't want to be unconscious for another half day. Noan shook his head and said. VYLYSS pouted, her face carrying a hint of resentment. Don't be sad, I want that too. Noan reached out, gently caressing her face. He didn't know if Succubus' skin was as soft as a baby's, or if VYLYSS was a special case. But I can't do that to you right now. Otherwise, I'll die. Wait until I become stronger, then I'll let you know how strong I am. Hearing Noan say that, VYLYSS felt as if honey was being poured into it. I will wait for you, master. VYLYSS finished speaking, lightly kissing his cheek, then hugged his arm tightly, pressing it between those two large mountains. Noan sighed. He really wanted to become stronger, not only because of VYLYSS, but also because he didn't want to waste this SSS talent. Besides, being able to live a second time in such a wonderful world and possessing the only talent in this world, he didn't want to live as an ordinary person. Noan checked the chat box and saw that Lilia sent him a lot of messages. Lilia, oi, are you dead? Lilia, oi, oi, oi. Lilia, you sleep so early? Are you a child? Or did you just start kindergarten? Lilia, wake up. No, he didn't know if this was her personality or if she treated him specially. Noan rummaged through the memories of old Noan, but couldn't find any memories of this personality of hers. Lilia was originally an energetic, lovely, and shy girl. But was this shyness? He felt like she was more like a female gangster. Noan, it's me. Aren't you sleeping? I've been busy all day, now I just want to sleep. Lilia, huh? You asked me to find a summoning card for you, and you were sleeping. I don't care about you anymore. I'll let you get bitten to death by zombies. No, lovely Lilia, beautiful Lilia, of course I'm very grateful to you. It's just that I just went through a very fierce battle today, so I feel a bit tired and want to sleep a bit. Lilia, all right, I'll forgive you this time. I just found some other landlords. They have some soldier summoning cards for you. However, this is not a strong soldier. The price is fine. You can pay me back later. Noan, that's a bit inappropriate. You've helped me so much. How can I take your money? Lilia, Let's continue when you get back to the city. I've already sent you those cards. Bye-bye. Lilia quickly closed the chat box. She was afraid that if she continued talking, Noan would feel embarrassed and not want to receive those cards. Noan is, of course, not that arrogant. If someone gives him a free monster summoning card, of course he will accept it. As for whether he felt ashamed or not, if he was facing death, shame or self-respect were worthless. Noan happily rushed to the last basement, saw the summoning lake shining, along with a notice board. Ding! Lord Lilia has sent you a package. Would you like to receive it? Have. Ding! You have received 3 goblin summon cards. Rank E. Random number. When Noan saw the cards sent, his heart was filled with joy. Noan was very grateful that Lilia sent him some monster cards, even though they were just E rank. In this dire situation, any help means a lot. Lilia's help even helped him survive until now, so he was truly grateful to her. Besides, this is a goblin summoning card, so he can fuse it into a high orc, and moreover, he can help Erlgan evolve. Use all the goblin summoning cards. Immediately after, many goblins crawled out from the summoning lake. They knelt before Noan, their expressions extremely respectful. But their eyes were filled with greed as they looked towards VYLYSS. VYLYSS frowned, snorting in disdain. Huh. That sound scared the goblins, and they immediately bowed their heads. Noan knew it was the difference in class that made the goblins fear the succubus. A goblin is only E rank, but VYLYSS is D rank. Fuse them all. Noan didn't want to see the information of these goblins either. He decided to fuse all of these goblins. The goblins turned into particles of light, then merged together. There were many goblins, but in the end, only one goblin remained standing in front of Noan. Ding! Congratulations on your successful fusion. You have obtained the mutated Shaman High Orc, rank D+. Seeing the notice board, Noan was overjoyed. However, at this moment, he also felt a slight change in his body. Noan could feel his physical strength increase slightly. However, what was special was that he also felt a strange flow appear in his body. This is energy flow. Noan immediately recognized what it was. After all, he had already learned all the necessary knowledge in the academy, so of course he knew how special energy flow was. Noan clenched his fists, feeling his body refreshed. He was filled with alertness and strength, as both his physical and mental fatigue were completely gone. He tried to contain his joy as he looked towards the high orc shaman kneeling before him. That high orc wasn't as tall as Erlgan, but rather a bit short. No, saying he was short wouldn't be correct, because the shaman high orc's height was somewhat similar to his, being around 175 to 180 centimeters. However, the shaman high orc was covered in a rough cloth cloak and carried a stick about 2 meters long in his hand. On the tip of the stick was the skull of an animal that somewhat resembled a mountain goat, with 2 horns on its head. The shaman high orc's face resembles the warrior high orc's, but he is older, and his beard and hair have turned silver. Master, please give me a name. The high orc shaman bowed his head and said. Noan realized, once they mutated, they would have superior intelligence compared to other high orcs, and of course they would need names. Noan thought for a moment, then said, Your name will be Erlgug. Thank you, Master. Erlgug bowed respectfully and said. Noan opened Erlgug's information board to see. Name, Erlgug. Race, Shaman High Orc, D+. Description, a shaman of the High Orc race. Although his physical strength is not high, he can use many types of magic to attack. In particular, Shaman High Orc can use magic to buff High Orcs, increasing their fighting power. Noan nodded, feeling extremely satisfied. He now had a mage, support, and tanker. Erlgan will be the tanker and main damage dealer. Erlgug will support from afar with magic, and VYLYSS will take on the role of attacking from afar or controlling the opponent. It could be said that his formation was gradually being completed. What was more special was that Noan could use a little bit of Erlgug's magic. It seems I not only inherited the power, but can also use all the skills from monsters that possess the evolution mark. Noan was overjoyed. Not only magical power, but he felt like he could also use the ability to harden his outer skin like Erlgan. It's just, he doesn't know how to use the ability. Noan shook his head. He didn't want to think anymore. After all, having another mutated monster was already an unexpected joy for him. Surely the road ahead would be simpler. Even if he faced a hunter again, he felt he wouldn't be in too much danger. Clank, clank, clank. Suddenly, the alarm bell rang. Noan frowned, immediately going up to the ground with VYLYSS and Erlgug. In the great hall, Noan clearly saw a group of lickers crawling outside through the bunker's lights. Like a colony of ants, the number was extremely large, perhaps more than 20 or even more than 30 lickers. VYLYSS frowned and said, "Master, there are about 40 lickers outside. They seem to be heading towards us." Noan panicked. He felt that they were definitely coming towards them. "Can you win?" Noan asked, frowning. VYLYSS, Erlgin, and Erlgug were all silent. They were uncertain, but had no choice but to fight. Noan sighed, took out all the E+ rank energy stones, and divided them equally among the three. "I hope that after this time, we will still be alive." "I will." "No!" VYLYSS suddenly shouted. She frowned at Noan. "Master, you are the leader. You cannot fight with us." "Don't worry. I'll just stand behind and not risk my life," Noan said with a smile. VYLYSS fell silent upon hearing this, but her face still showed worry. "All right, let's go. Let them know that I, too, am not someone who can be bullied easily." Erlgin and Erlgug nodded, then went outside with the other 4 skeletons. VYLYSS wanted to fly out, but was held back by Noan. "Master," she looked at him in confusion. "You have another mission." Crit, crit, crit. The lickers seemed to go crazy. When they saw Erlgin, they immediately rushed towards him, madly using their tongues to attack him. Clank, clank, clank. Erlgin's skin instantly turned black. The lickers' tongues were like drills, but could not break Erlgin's defense. When attacking, only the sound of metal clashing is heard. "Grrrr!" Erlgin roared. He was even more furious than the lickers. His face was filled with ferocity as his eyes turned blood red. Bam! 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 Erlgin no longer cared whether he hit the licker's head or not, and swung his thorn mace instinctively. However, each time the thorn mace was swung, a licker died instantly, blasted into a pile of minced meat. The lickers seemed fearless, charging closer and closer towards Erlgin. For skeletons joined the fight, but were quickly shattered into countless pieces by the lickers. The lickers swarmed around Erlgin, completely obscuring him, using their numbers to suppress him. Bust! Suddenly, a voice rang out from afar. Erlgug stood in the distance, waving the magic staff in his hand, the skull on the magic staff emitting a strange red light. The light flew towards Erlgin, who was buried by the lickers, wrapping around his body. Grrrr! Erlgin seemed to gain strength as he immediately grabbed a licker's head and then squeezed hard. Bam! Its head instantly shattered, blood and white brain matter crushed by Erlgin splattered everywhere. The lickers were not afraid, but neither was Erlgin. Although the thorn mace had fallen to the ground, he was still able to use his hands to crush the licker's head. Bust! Shield! Erlgug stood in the distance, once again using magic. Erlgin's body was enveloped by 2 more layers of red light. He felt his body filled with energy, and even the skin on his body, which was already hard, became much harder. The lickers were basically unable to break through his defenses. No matter how hard they tried, they were killed one by Erlgin. Suddenly, the lickers, as if obeying someone's command, immediately turned their heads, looked towards Erlgug, and then they charged towards Erlgug like a pack of rabid dogs. Erlgug frowned, disdain in his heart. He stabbed the magic staff in his hand on the floor, then shook it. It seemed that there were marbles inside the skull attached to the tip of the magic staff. When Erlgug shook it, they made a very strange sound. Cock, cock, cock. The sound continued to ring, accompanied by a gust of wind. Grrrr! A terrifying roar rang out as countless gusts of wind suddenly gathered into a giant tiger, charging towards the lickers. Whoosh! The wind whistled loudly, sending the lickers flying backwards. Erlgin now also ran towards Erlgug. He had the thorn mace and a shield in his hands. He swung the thorn mace in his hand around, and the unlucky lickers hit by the thorn mace died instantly. Erlgug also retreated, trying to get back into the bunker for cover. The skill just now looked very impressive, but in reality, it didn't do any damage. It was only used to hold the enemy in place. Erlgen frantically swung the thorn mace in his hand, but the lickers ignored him and only charged towards Erlgug. Bam! 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 Explosions rang out one after another, and many lickers were killed, with only half of their number remaining. However, Erlgen had begun to pant, the strength used to swing the thorn mace gradually draining away. He tried to throw the shield in his hand. The shield flew at high speed, stuck into the stomach of a licker, and its intestines and internal organs spilt out. Erlgen tried to fight, even though he was extremely tired. In the distance, in the woods, a dark figure sat on a tree branch, its legs swinging as if it was watching something quite interesting. It's just a high orc, but his fighting strength really surprised me. The shadow muttered, and that shaman high orc. Not only can it use magic to strengthen its teammates, but it also has the ability to defend itself. It seems this lord has some mysteries that I need to uncover. As the shadow smiled strangely, a chain suddenly appeared and rushed towards her. Come! The black figure did not turn around, only swung her arm behind her. In her hand, she held a dagger, preparing to block the chain just now. Era. Sneak attacks are no good, my boy. Not far away, Noan and VYLYSS were looking towards that dark figure. Especially Noan, his eyes were filled with confusion and discomfort, mixed with a bit of anger. Who are you? Noan saw the woman in the black cloak and felt a little surprised. He didn't think that he would meet another person at the Singularity. What a surprise. How did you know I was here? The strange woman said, her voice not carrying any annoyance or anger. On the contrary, Noan could tell that her voice was filled with excitement. Noan frowned and said, Who are you? Why are you attacking me? You know that I am the one controlling those lickers? How did you know? The woman asked again. She seemed to be smiling excitedly. Lickers do hunt in groups, but there can't be this many of them, Noan said. There's only one possibility. Someone is controlling them. They attacked us with purpose. Even the way they acted didn't seem like they were acting on instinct. That's why I don't think they're the high-level zombie controlling them. To be exact, they're being controlled by a human. Ha! The woman laughed madly, her laughter echoing throughout the forest. Ha! Kid, you are really interesting. However, without waiting for her to continue, VYLYSS took action, launching countless chains towards her. The woman was like a ghost. The chains couldn't catch her. Now! Noan suddenly shouted. At that moment, a chain suddenly shot up from the ground, right at the spot where the mysterious woman had just stepped down. Jingle! Jingle! A chain shot out from beneath the ground, instantly wrapping around the woman. What? She was a little startled, not thinking that there was a trap waiting for her. Jingle! 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 Countless other chains also immediately bound her tightly, not allowing her to move. Oi, why are you doing this to a weak woman like me? The woman said while laughing, as if the one being tied up wasn't her. Noan frowned. Weak? Can a weak person control an entire army of lickers? Ha! The woman laughed excitedly. Kid, you really make me feel excited. I'm about to wet. Hearing this, Noan's eyebrows furrowed even more, and he hurriedly asked, Who are you? Why did you attack me? Even though the woman was tied up, Noan still did not dare to approach her. She could control a whole pack of lickers anyway, he thought. Even if she was tied up, she was still extremely dangerous. Why are you standing so far away? Are you afraid? The woman provoked. That's right. Noan wasn't angry, on the contrary. He shrugged and said, I'm very timid. Just standing here is fine. She tilted her head. Are you really that afraid of me? But you're standing too far away. I'm afraid you can't hear what I'm saying. I can hear it. Noan frowned, feeling that she seemed to be trying to stall for time. Could it be there's someone else? Does she have reinforcements? Noan thought to herself. All right. The woman suddenly smiled strangely. If you won't come near me, Then let me come near you." Immediately after, the woman's body instantly dissipated into a puff of smoke. Jingle, jingle. The chains lost their binding and immediately fell to the ground. Noan was startled and stepped back. VYLYSS was also very surprised as she looked around cautiously. However, it was too late. "What do you want to know, my cowardly boy?" At this moment, Noan felt as if a cold current ran down his spine, making him shiver. The woman had appeared behind him at some point. She used her left arm to strangle him, the other hand holding a dagger, the tip pressed right against his temple. If she moved even slightly, the knife would immediately pierce through his head. Noan was a little scared, and he started sweating. "Master!" VYLYSS shouted hastily. "Stand still," the woman said with a laugh. VYLYSS gritted her teeth. She really wanted to save Noan, but the mysterious woman was holding him in her arms. If she acts rashly, Noan will definitely die. "It seems that little girl is very worried about you." The woman brought her luscious lips close to Noan's ear and said. Her warm breaths, carrying a hint of seductive scent, blew into his ears. However, Noan had no mind to think about anything else. His nerves were as tense as guitar strings. He tried to stay still, not moving for fear that he would accidentally cause the dagger to stab his head. "What? No more questions?" The woman laughed teasingly. Noan took a deep breath, trying to calm down. "You are very interesting, but not enough. I look forward to what you will do next." The woman finished speaking and then disappeared into a puff of smoke. As soon as the woman disappeared, the lickers that were frantically attacking Erlgug and Erlgen suddenly stopped moving. Yes, like puppets whose strings are broken, they lay still on the ground, motionless. The two looked around in confusion. The chaotic scene just now had disappeared, replaced by silence, silence to the point of confusion. The crazy lickers suddenly died unnaturally. What the hell is going on? Noan sat in the middle of the hall, feeling extremely tired. He had only rested for less than 2 hours before fighting. Also, he felt death was very close to him. Luckily, the mysterious woman left without harming him. Otherwise, his journey in this new world would have ended. VYLYSS sat behind him, her hands gently massaging his shoulders. Her eyes were filled with sadness and fatigue. She felt weak and useless. If she were stronger, Noan wouldn't be in such mortal danger. There were countless thoughts in her mind at the moment, making her mind chaotic. VYLYSS. Master, you called me? VYLYSS was startled when she heard Noan calling her. Noan asked in confusion, "What are you thinking about?" VYLYSS forced a smile. "No, Master. I was just thinking about how many energy stones we can harvest tonight." Noan glanced at VYLYSS. He knew she was lying, but he didn't expose her. He knew clearly. She was sad, because she felt that she was too weak. Will Noan comfort her? No. Even though she looked pitiful, he felt this was the moment for VYLYSS to realize how weak she was. She must have the desire to become stronger. Only then can she become a true hero. If she relied solely on his fusion talent, her ambitions would be crushed. Sometimes you have to feel despair to understand how valuable hope is. Noan patted VYLYSS on the shoulder. "Don't be sad. At least we're still alive." VYLSS pursed her lips upon hearing this. She suddenly hugged him tightly from behind, her two soft mountains pressed against his back to the point they were deformed. "Master, if you continue to be so sweet, I won't be able to control myself." Noan shuddered when he heard that. "I was just comforting you a little. How am I sweet?" He felt a little confused. Why did VYLYSS find such a normal, comforting word sweet? Noan suddenly looked towards Erlgen, feeling that there was something very strange about Erlgen. Erlgen sat still at this moment. His physical strength had also recovered, but, looking at his face, he looked quite sad and disappointed. Noan suddenly remembered something and thought to himself, I forgot that Erlgen is a high orc. He worships the goddess of war. That's right, the high orcs worship the goddess of war. For them, fighting and winning is the sweetest glory. However, in this battle, Erlgen revealed his weakness. It wasn't that he was weak but rather that his physical strength wasn't enough to help him resist until the end. Luckily, Erlgug helped. Otherwise, this war would have ended before it began. That was why Erlgen seemed to feel humiliated when he couldn't win. When he was about to lose, the Lickers suddenly died, so that couldn't be called a victory. Noan looked at Erlgen. Although he lost 2 rank E+ skeletons in this battle, in return, VYLYSS and Erlgen had begun to realize that they were not strong. However, he also knew he was in danger. Noan thought that the hunters were the biggest danger he had to face, but now a mysterious woman appeared. Not only could that woman control Lickers, she was also like a ghost, uncatchable. If she wanted to kill him, he would have been dead by then. Not only zombies, but he also had to watch out for a mysterious woman. Maybe she was watching him from the shadows right now. Besides, he didn't know if the woman was alone or had a separate organization. Noan sighed, then returned to his bedroom. He was really tired. He really wanted to rest. Seeing Noan leave, VYLYSS did not stop him. She suddenly flew outside, then disappeared into the darkness. Elsewhere in the city, 2 people in black cloaks who vaguely resembled the woman stood at the building that Noan had caused to collapse. They both appear to be men. At this moment, the woman from earlier appeared, standing opposite the 2 men. "Let's go back." Hearing the woman speak, one of the 2 men immediately spoke up. "Captain, shouldn't we capture that kid?" "That's right." The other person continued. "That kid is very strange. The monsters he possesses are completely different from the type of monsters a beginner should possess." "Captain, I think." They were talking, but immediately fell silent because the woman's gaze towards them was filled with murderous intent. It was so cold that it made them feel as if they were standing in an ice cellar. "That is my prey. If you reveal his existence, the consequences you cannot imagine." The woman finished speaking and then disappeared into a puff of smoke. As soon as the woman disappeared, the Lickers that were frantically attacking Erlgug and Erlgen suddenly stopped moving. Yes, like puppets whose strings are broken, they lay still on the ground, motionless. The 2 looked around in confusion. The chaotic scene just now had disappeared, replaced by silence, silence to the point of confusion. The crazy Lickers suddenly died unnaturally. What the hell is going on? Noan sat in the middle of the hall, feeling extremely tired. He had only rested for less than 2 hours before fighting. Also, he felt death was very close to him. Luckily, the mysterious woman left without harming him. Otherwise, his journey in this new world would have ended. VYLYSS sat behind him, her hands gently massaging his shoulders. Her eyes were filled with sadness and fatigue. She felt weak and useless. If she were stronger, Noan wouldn't be in such mortal danger. There were countless thoughts in her mind at the moment, making her mind chaotic. VYLYSS. Master, you called me? VYLYSS was startled when she heard Noan calling her. Noan asked in confusion, "What are you thinking about?" VYLYSS forced a smile. "No, Master. I was just thinking about how many energy stones we can harvest tonight." Noan glanced at VYLYSS. He knew she was lying, but he didn't expose her. He knew clearly. She was sad, because she felt that she was too weak. Will Noan comfort her? No. Even though she looked pitiful, he felt this was the moment for VYLYSS to realize how weak she was. She must have the desire to become stronger. Only then can she become a true hero. If she relied solely on his fusion talent, her ambitions would be crushed. Sometimes you have to feel despair to understand how valuable hope is. Noan patted VYLYSS on the shoulder. "Don't be sad. At least we're still alive." VYLSS pursed her lips upon hearing this. She suddenly hugged him tightly from behind, her 2 soft mountains pressed against his back to the point they were deformed. "Master, if you continue to be so sweet, I won't be able to control myself." Noan shuddered when he heard that. "I was just comforting you a little. How am I sweet?" He felt a little confused. Why did VYLYSS find such a normal, comforting word sweet? Noan suddenly looked towards Erlgen, feeling that there was something very strange about Erlgen. Erlgen sat still at this moment. His physical strength had also recovered, but, looking at his face, he looked quite sad and disappointed. Noan suddenly remembered something and thought to himself, I forgot that Erlgan is a high orc. He worships the goddess of war. That's right, the high orcs worship the goddess of war. For them, fighting and winning is the sweetest glory. However, in this battle, Erlgan revealed his weakness. It wasn't that he was weak, but rather that his physical strength wasn't enough to help him resist until the end. Luckily, Erlgug helped. Otherwise, this war would have ended before it began. That was why Erlgan seemed to feel humiliated when he couldn't win. When he was about to lose, the lickers suddenly died, so that couldn't be called a victory. Noan looked at Erlgan. Although he lost 2 rank E+ skeletons in this battle, in return, VYLYSS and Erlgan had begun to realize that they were not strong. However, he also knew he was in danger. Noan thought that the hunters were the biggest danger he had to face, but now a mysterious woman appeared. Not only could that woman control lickers, she was also like a ghost, uncatchable. If she wanted to kill him, he would have been dead by then. Not only zombies, but he also had to watch out for a mysterious woman. Maybe she was watching him from the shadows right now. Besides, he didn't know if the woman was alone or had a separate organization. Noan sighed, then returned to his bedroom. He was really tired. He really wanted to rest. Seeing Noan leave, VYLYSS did not stop him. She suddenly flew outside, then disappeared into the darkness. Elsewhere in the city, 2 people in black cloaks who vaguely resembled the woman stood at the building that Noan had caused to collapse. They both appear to be men. At this moment, the woman from earlier appeared, standing opposite the 2 men. Let's go back. Hearing the woman speak, one of the 2 men immediately spoke up. Captain, shouldn't we capture that kid? That's right. The other person continued. That kid is very strange. The monsters he possesses are completely different from the type of monsters a beginner should possess. Captain, I think. They were talking, but immediately fell silent because the woman's gaze towards them was filled with murderous intent. It was so cold that it made them feel as if they were standing in an ice cellar. That is my prey. If you reveal his existence, the consequences you cannot imagine. Hearing what the woman said, the 2 men shuddered in fear and immediately fell silent. The woman glanced at the 2 men, then ignored them. She looked into the distance. Her lips, which were painted a strange purple color, curved into a smile. A moment later, a ball of light appeared in front of her. From within the ball, a voice rang out. Report on the mission progress, Isabel. Isabel withdrew her smile and said softly, Nothing unusual. It's just that the zombies are a bit crazy. The ball of light was silent, then spoke again. All right, back to Phoenix Point. We have a new mission. Understood. As soon as Isabel replied, the ball of light disappeared, and she walked away. However, before leaving, Isabel turned her head, looking towards Noan's bunker, smiling expectantly. The next morning, Noan woke up feeling a little better. He was feeling energized, but his stomach was empty. Noan ate an almighty pill, then went to the lowest floor, where he had installed the summoning pool. At this moment, Erlgug was waiting for him. Noan frowned and asked, Where are Erlgan and VYLYSS? Master! Erlgug knelt on one knee on the ground, bowed his head, and respectfully said, Erlgan is trying to practice. He feels that last night's failure was a humiliation. VYLYSS, sorry master, I don't know. She left last night and hasn't returned yet. Noan heard that and nodded slightly, not caring anymore. Erlgan is training. That's a good sign. And VYLYSS? Okay, maybe she needs to go somewhere to stabilize her mood. She wouldn't betray him anyway, so he didn't need to worry too much about her. Leaving her alone is the best thing to do right now. Master, this is yesterday's harvest. Erlgug said as he took out a small cloth bag and opened it. Inside were all rank E energy stones. 25 rank E energy stones. Noan heard that and felt a little happy inside. With this amount, he could upgrade his territory. However, he needed to convert the E-rank energy stone to F-rank. Although 1 E-rank energy stone could be exchanged for 100 F-rank energy stones to level up a lord from level 0 to level 1. The system only accepts F-rank energy stones. That's why he needs to find the Energy Stone Exchange Center. After converting, he still had 15 Rank E Energy Stones left, which meant he could buy more items or monster summoning cards to supplement his territory's combat power. Noan took the Energy Stone from Erlgug, then was about to summon today's soldiers when a notice board suddenly appeared. Ding! The system has a serious bug. Lords, please prepare to teleport back to the city in 10 minutes. Hearing this, Noan frowned and thought to himself, could it be that they discovered that I had been taken to the singularity point? That's good too. Even though I can survive here, this place is too dangerous, not only because of monsters, but also because of that strange woman. Noan sighed. At least in the safe area, he could cooperate with other lords to fight or experience more things. If in danger, everyone can help each other. Here, he was like a lonely person walking in the endless desert, with no one to help him and no oasis to be found. Noan hurriedly summoned the skeletons. Of course, the 10% chance was still not activated today. He also did not rush to fuse them together, since he was preparing to return to the city. Of course, after the Lord is teleported back to the city, the entire territory and monsters will be protected and become invisible. That's why Noan didn't worry that his territory would be in danger while he was away. After giving Erlgug a few instructions, he returned to his room. Sitting on the bed, Noan waited for the remaining time to pass before being taken back to the city. Ding! Preparing to teleport back to the city. Do you want to bring any monsters with you? Noan saw this notice board and did not feel confused or surprised. This is the Lord's right. After all, the Lord's status is very special, as the Empire cannot protect all of them. Therefore, the Empire allowed the Lords to bring along a hero or monster of their choice to protect that Lord. Noan thought for a long time. Finally, he decided to bring VYLYSS along. Why? Because she was female, beautiful, and he also didn't want a giant high orc to be with him until he returned to this world. VYLYSS. Ding. Confirmed successfully. Please pick up the hero you want to bring at the hero-only teleportation gate. Ding. Teleportation begins. Immediately after, Noan felt dizzy. The space around him twisted strangely. 3 seconds later, he opened his eyes and found himself back at the teleportation gate. Noan stepped out of the portal and was met with Maya's eyes filled with fear, worry, and confusion. He could see dark circles under her eyes. It seemed she hadn't had any good sleep in the past few days. You? Maya stuttered. Are you really back? Seeing Maya scared and worried, he knew what she was worried about. He walked up to her, his face filled with indifference, and said, Do you know what consequences you will have to bear? Maya shivered when she heard that. Her eyes suddenly became wet as if she was about to cry. In fact, after listening to the captain's advice, she still did not delete Noan's information. She believed that he would return. No, to be more precise, it was her wish. Even though she knew full well that if he returned, she would have to face a terrible repercussion, which was being sued in court. However, the humanity inside her did not want him to disappear as if he never existed. Maya decided to face her mistakes, so for many days, she hasn't had any good sleep. Seeing Noan appear, Maya was both happy but also worried and scared. She was happy because he was back safely and scared because she's afraid he'll sue her. Maya nodded slightly and said, Sorry, this is my fault. But my mother is seriously ill and I can do anything to make up for it. Hearing this, Noan frowned at her, then took the pen placed on the table, wrote a line on the table, then said, Think carefully. The decision is in your hands. Tell me the answer tonight. He said and left. Maya was startled. She lowered her head to look at the words that Noan had written on the table. Of course, she understood what he wanted to do. However, she just plopped down on the chair while looking up at the ceiling, not knowing what she was thinking. Noan was in no hurry to summon VYLYSS to the city. She was a succubus. After all, if there weren't items to seal her seductive abilities, he was afraid she would cause a ruckus. He was planning to go to the conversion center to exchange for the E-Rank Energy Stone. However, he seemed to have a bit of trouble. Oi, where are you going? Lilia suddenly appeared before him, a mischievous and adorable look on her face. This? Noan frowned. He sighed and said, I plan to go to the conversion center for a bit. Wow, you won the lottery. No, what I mean is, huh? Lilia suddenly pouted, her face showing displeasure. Have you forgotten what you need to do? I'm so pitiful. I'm so hungry, but no guy's offering me a meal. Noan. Okay, I will. Lilia. Before Noan could finish his sentence, a masculine voice rang out. He looked towards the voice. It was a young man about his age, a little taller than him. He had blonde hair that was combed back and a handsome face like a movie actor with a smile that was like warm sunshine. What a coincidence. The young man smiled and said, I know a very luxurious restaurant nearby. Would you like to have dinner with me? Lilia saw the young man and sighed, her facial expression slightly uncomfortable. Sorry, Yankos, but I already have an appointment right now. A date. Yankos looked at Noan, his eyes filled with contempt as he saw the cheap clothes on him. With this person? Yankos laughed disdainfully. Lilia, even if you don't want to have a meal with me, you shouldn't use such a poor excuse. Lilia frowned, wanted to say something, but Noan spoke up. Are you your boyfriend? Yanko smirked. Not right now, but in the future, yes. Noan laughed contemptuously. Do you know what arrogant people have in common? The smile on Yanko's face immediately disappeared, replaced by contempt and annoyance. What do you mean? They all come to a miserable end, like a dog, said Noan. It seems you don't know how to write the word death, Yanko said, his voice cold and filled with murderous intent. Noan shrugged. Are you illiterate? Do you need me to hire a tutor to teach you privately? Enough. Lilia spoke up at this moment, breaking the tense atmosphere. Yankos, I really have an appointment with him for a meal. You don't need to follow me. Besides, Yankos, I don't like you. You don't need to flirt with me. Let's go. Lilia hurriedly pulled Noan away. Yankos did not say anything, but the murderous intent in his eyes was still extremely terrifying. Walking to the academy gate, Lilia smiled and said, You were really cool just now, daring to talk to Yankos like that. Perhaps in this entire academy, you're the only one who dares to do that. Lilia finished speaking and looked at Noan. Suddenly, she realized that he wasn't looking at her. On the contrary, he was looking down at something. She also lowered her head, following his gaze, finding her pressing his arm into the narrow gap between her two large mountains. Lilia was startled and let go, her face red. You this? Noan glanced at Lilia and teased. What just happened? I just felt something very soft and warm. Lilia covered her chest and pouted. You pretended to forget so you wouldn't have to take responsibility, right? Don't think too much. I was really scared by that idiot just now, so I don't remember what just happened. Noan said with an innocent face. AAA. Lilia frowned as if she was about to cry. You have to take responsibility. Otherwise, tomorrow I will tell the entire school that you have. All right. Noan sighed, feeling a bit of a headache. You hugged me. I didn't hug you. How can you say that I bullied you? I don't care. Lilia pouted. Everyone will definitely believe me. No one will believe you. All right. Wait for me to get to the conversion center. Then I'll take you out to eat. Okay? Lilia suddenly changed her expression, smiling mischievously and triumphantly. I'll spare you for now. At the conversion center, Noan exchanged 10 Rank E energy stones for credit points. He could not downgrade Rank E energy stones to Rank F, as such an action was strictly prohibited. For novice lords, they were expected to search for energy stones on their own to level up their domains. The exchange of energy stones was forbidden because the federal government and the empire feared that novice lords might overly rely on high-ranking lords to achieve easy level-ups. Thus, Noan was only allowed to convert energy stones into credit points. Fortunately, the Rank E energy stones he possessed all came from liquors, a type of Rank E+ monster. Their quality was significantly higher than usual. 150 million points. That's not a small amount of money. It was enough for him to buy a small house in the countryside or help him live comfortably in the city for 5 years. However, he needs to use this money to do a few things before enjoying life. Wow, not only did you not die, you also brought back more resources than Yankos. Lilia was surprised when she saw the amount of energy stones that Noan exchanged. This is an E-rank energy stone, and the quality is very high. Where did you find it? Lilia opened her mouth wide. It's like the place you were teleported to is an energy stone mine? Hearing this, Noan also felt confused. I heard you say you guys surrounded a group of zombies. Are you guys poorer than me? Zombies? Lilia frowned and tilted her head, saying, Are you stupid? No matter how strong we are still just beginners. That group of zombies was all normal zombies. In the end, they only harvested less than 150 F-rank energy stones. But if 150 stones are divided equally among 13 lords, how many resources do you think each of us will have? Noan was also surprised. He quickly asked, Really? There are no lickers or hunters in that zombie herd. Licker? Hunter? Lilia frowned, her eyes looking at Noan as if she was looking at an idiot. Are you stupid? Noan didn't understand her question. What do you mean? You? What exactly did you encounter at the singularity? I repeat, everyone and I are just beginners. Lilia sighed and said, If lickers appear, just a group of 3 lickers will be enough to wipe out almost 50% of the new lords. What about a hunter? Are you kidding? 1 hunter is enough to destroy all the newbie lords. We're just beginners anyway. Those zombies are used by the Empire to train everyone's fighting ability. Noan was startled when he heard that, feeling as if he was the strange one. That's right. If he didn't have Erlgen, the mutated High Orc, and Vylwysis, he wouldn't have been able to kill the lickers so easily. Although zombies are monsters for beginners, if you are not careful and get injured by a zombie, even high-level monsters can easily be infected and turn into zombies. Meaning, when facing zombies, even if you're much stronger than them, just 1 wound, no matter how small, is enough to turn you into a zombie. Oi! Lilia spoke up, interrupting his thoughts. What exactly happened to you at the singularity? Did you meet lickers and hunters? No. Noan laughed and said, I just thought you would encounter high-level zombies. I'm just an F-rank lord anyway. If I meet a licker or hunter, do you think I can return? HM, you're right. Lilia was a little doubtful, but what Noan said was extremely reasonable. She couldn't find anything unusual. Lickers and hunters are too strong anyway. You have to know that even if there was only a group of more than 200 zombies, it would take 13 novice lords working together to destroy all of them. Many lords lost all their soldiers and needed a long time to recruit and replenish soldiers. Wait, you guys can buy soldier summoning cards, right? Noan asked in confusion. Why don't you guys buy high-rank soldier cards? You really don't know? Lilia frowned and said, The Empire allows lords to buy soldier summoning cards, but for new lords like us, we can only buy E-rank soldier summoning cards, or at most, E+. Noan heard that and nodded slightly, thinking to himself, It seems my almighty fusion talent gave me the wrong view of a rookie lord. However, Noan was not arrogant or indifferent because of that. After all, he was only an F-rank lord, so he needed to try harder. In the singularity, he also faced countless dangers that were even more terrible than in the safe zone for beginners. All right, let's go eat. I'm so hungry I'm about to faint. Lilia pouted. Besides, you just got 150 million credit points. You have to eat in an extremely luxurious, super luxurious restaurant, understand? Noan, I feel like you are a minor. Lilia, slap. Noan hugged the arm that was just slapped by Lilia, his face a bit tired. You look so weak, but why are you so strong? Lilia pouted and said, I am an A-rank lord after all. Do you really think I am weak? Even if we fought, I alone could beat 10 of you. Noan, he felt he should stay away from this girl, as behind that angelic appearance was a violent demon. Oi, I can tell what you're thinking. Lilia said threateningly. Okay, I lose. I'll spare you this time. Lilia said as she waved her fist in front of him as if threatening him. Suddenly, she stopped and pointed forward. We will have dinner there. Noan raised his head and saw a magnificent and luxurious palace, illuminated everywhere by neon lights. Even though it was daytime, the palace was still extremely bright, causing him to gape in awe. Although he had dined at fancy restaurants when he was still alive on Earth, this was the first time he had seen one this luxurious. What the hell is this? Is this the royal palace? Let's go, Lilia urged. Wait, Noan asked in confusion. You guarantee that it is a restaurant and not a royal palace? Of course, I often eat here too, don't worry. No. Hey, how rich are you anyway? Noan looked at Lilia and asked with a frown. That's a secret. Lilia laughed and said, How is it? You feel like you're not worthy of me, right? No. Usually the children of the rich are a bit stupid. I feel like you are not worthy of me. Jeer you. Lilia growled, but the sound was very cute. You want to be beaten again, don't you? All right. How many credits does it cost to eat here? I don't want to spend that much on just one meal. Noan shrugged. You are so stingy. Lilia pouted. Do you know that there are countless men who, in order to have a meal with me, are willing to spend 100 million just for one meal? That high. I think 10,000 is enough. Noan said with a smile. Blah, blah. Lilia stuck out her tongue. I curse you to never have anyone love you, to be single for the rest of your life. If so, I will become a single ghost and haunt you, so that you will also be single for the rest of your life. Noan said disdainfully. Lilia pouted, her face flushed with anger, but her heart felt sweet. Lilia, what a coincidence. Suddenly, Yankos suddenly appeared and walked towards them. You are also dining here? As Lilia saw Yankos, she knew in her heart that this was not a coincidence. Yankos glanced at Noan, his eyes filled with disdain. Hey, only people with high incomes can enter this place. Don't let others laugh at you, the Academy's beauty. Lilia heard that and frowned, saying, Yankos, what do you mean? I'm just telling the truth. Yankos shrugged. Look at him. His entire outfit adds up to less than 1,000 credits. He's like a beggar. If you go into this restaurant with him, I'm afraid the staff there will chase him away because they would think he's a beggar. I don't want you to get into an embarrassing situation either. So Lilia, let's go in together, okay? Lilia was a little annoyed, but she didn't care about Yankos anymore and said to Noan, let's go inside. Noan wanted to say something, but hearing Lilia speak, he didn't say anything more and followed behind her. Yankos was not angry that he was ignored. Instead, he wore a slightly arrogant smile. Is this place really only for high-income people? Noan asked. That's right. Don't worry, I'll treat you today to celebrate you being the first person to return from the singularity, Lilia said with a smile. Noan shrugged. Even though he had 150 million credit points, if someone invited him to eat, he would still happily accept. Will he be modest, or will he refuse? Of course not. He also has no obligation to be modest with Lilia. Even though she was beautiful and helped him, he didn't like her, and he would repay her in another way. Besides, Noan has a succubus waiting for him who is absolutely loyal to him. He could even evolve her to a higher rank, even S rank. An S rank hero is a beautiful succubus, is the perfect dream that every man desires. Besides, that beautiful succubus woman was absolutely loyal to him. So what did he need other women for? He didn't want to love a woman who could betray him at any time without him knowing. So, for Noan, Lilia is a friend, nothing more. Arriving at the restaurant door, a very elegantly dressed staff member came to greet them. However, when the female employee saw Noan, she immediately smiled disdainfully. Sorry, this place is only for high-income earners and those with feudal status. He is also a lord, Lilia said with a frown. But the female employee looked at the clothes Noan was wearing and felt a little uncomfortable. After all, the outfit Noan was wearing was even cheaper than the female employee's outfit. So how could she believe that Noan was a lord? Excuse me, but may I check this guest's lord ID card? The female employee said with a smile. Is this how this restaurant treats customers? Lilia was really annoyed. Who are you to be able to check the lord's ID card? I'm sorry. The female employee bowed her head and said, I'm only doing what I was trained to do. I can't let just anyone into the restaurant. Lilia, don't make things difficult for her. Yankos slowly walked over, his face still carrying a confident smile. She's right. Although it's a bit impolite to check a lord's ID card. Look at him. Does he look like a lord? At this time, there were quite a few people dining here, and most of them were looking at Noan with contempt. Yankos also noticed this, So he spoke even louder. All right, this is the first time our young lord is coming to such a luxurious place, so he doesn't know what to wear properly. Maybe. Yankos walked up to Noan and patted his shoulder. This guy's most expensive outfit. We should sympathize with him, right? PFF. The waitress laughed, her smile both disdainful and teasing. Yankos was waiting. He wanted Noan to be angry, to hit him, then he would have a good reason to teach this brat a lesson. However, contrary to what he thought, Noan just shrugged, his expression indifferent, and said, "That's right. I'm quite poor. I can't eat here." Ha ha. Everyone listened to him. All right, we're in the same academy after all. I should help you out a bit, right? Yankos took out a handful of energy stones from his pocket, then brought them in front of Noan, then loosened his grip. Clank, clank, clank. The energy stone fell to the ground with a slightly ear-piercing sound. Sorry, I dropped them. Could you pick them up for me? Yankos smirked. Noan lowered his head, and upon seeing the energy stones on the ground, he felt confused. The crowd saw Noan looking at the energy stones that Yankos accidentally dropped on the ground and laughed at him. "Girl," a somewhat elderly customer softly said to Lilia, "although you are very cute and very beautiful, why are your eyes so bad?" Another person spoke up. "That's right. Can't you see that kid is so poor that he has lost all self-respect?" Look, that young man threw the energy stone away like he was giving it to a beggar, yet he still wanted to bend down to pick it up. Haha, even if he really is a lord, this is too stupid. All right, how could someone like that be a lord? It must be fake. TSK, such a piece of trash wants to enter this fancy restaurant. Look at yourself, trash. Girl, look at that young man. He's handsome, elegant, and extremely generous. He is the real man you should love. Hearing what the people around said, Lilia became angry, her eyes filled with murderous intent. Lilia, don't be angry. I really dropped them by accident," Yankos said with an innocent face. Everyone around saw it too. They could be my witnesses. The crowd nodded slightly, immediately agreeing. "That's right. He's a beggar anyway. He picked it up when it fell on the ground." A beggar dares to enter this restaurant. Where's the security? You even let dogs in this place now. Hurry up and chase him away. I can still smell the stench of poverty. The killing intent in Lilia's eyes grew stronger, her gaze becoming as sharp as a knife. Yankos naturally didn't pay attention to her gaze. He just gently reached out his hand towards Lilia, softly saying, "Miss Lilia, can I invite you to dinner?" Wow, this couple really makes everyone jealous. Yes, it's like you two were destined to be together. Agreed, agreed. Hurry up and date. The crowd once again started to chatter, making Lilia feel even more uncomfortable. It's just an F-rank energy stone. Suddenly, Noan's voice rang out, drawing everyone's attention to him. Hey, did you hear what he said? It's just an F-rank energy stone. Damn it. Even an F rank isn't something a poor guy like you can dream of, understand? Not only is he poor, he's also stupid. Who does he think he is? A high lord? Haha. Kid, those energy stones should be enough for you to live until the end of this year. That's right. Quickly pick it up and leave. Don't stay here and pollute the air with your poor smell. Lilia frowned and said, I brought him here. He is my friend. Can't he come in? The female employee laughed disdainfully. Sorry, miss. But this restaurant has a rule that there are certain people who cannot enter the restaurant to avoid affecting other customers and the restaurant's reputation. Lilia naturally realized that the female employee was scolding Noan. She was about to say something when Noan continued speaking. 13 F-rank energy stones? Are you that poor? Yankos frowned upon hearing that, his eyes filled with murderous intent as he looked at Noan. Do you know who you were talking to? That much energy stone is enough to buy your life. Noan shrugged, took a small stone from his pocket, and threw it in front of Yankos. Pick it up, Noah said with authority, his voice filled with majesty and command, as if he were the one holding the power in his hands. You? Yankos was about to say something when he realized that the stone under his feet was not an F-rank energy stone, but an E-rank one. Oh my God, that's an E-rank energy stone. No, Its color and light are even more dazzling than a normal E-rank energy stone. A high-grade E-rank energy stone. Why does a poor guy like him have such a stone? Yankos gritted his teeth, his face red with anger. What's wrong? Why don't you pick it up? Noan smirked, his face showing contempt. Yankos froze when he saw Noan smile, but his eyes were filled with anger. I know, Noah suddenly shouted. Not enough, right? One more, he said as he took out an E-rank energy stone and threw it on the ground. Come. The sound made the people around swallow their saliva. Although there are a few lords here, those were still rank E energy stones, one which costs more than 20 million credits. Just one such stone is equivalent to 1 month's salary of a senior administrative staff member. Yet the young man threw them to the ground as if they were 2 small stones. Some people saw this scene and felt their faces hurt as if they had just been slapped by Noah. They just called Noah poor and a dirty dog. But who is poor now? Without waiting for Yankos to reply, Noan took out a gray ID card and said, Is this enough for me to go inside and eat? The female employee felt extremely embarrassed at this moment. She was unable to imagine that the poor young man was actually a landlord. Moreover, he also possessed quite a few high-grade energy stones. However, when she saw Noan's card, she immediately regained her confidence, laughing comfortably. Yes, you are a landlord, but an F-rank landlord. Her voice was loud, as if she was trying to make sure others could hear it too. Although landlords in this world are highly regarded and have an extremely noble status, low-ranked landlords seem to not enjoy the respect of those around them. In particular, Rank F landlords are considered useless, and they are viewed in contempt. You surprised me. He's just a Rank F landlord. Yet here he is being arrogant. That's right. It must have been luck that he was able to get 2 high-grade energy stones. I think he stole them. No, I think that brat hid in a safe place, waited for the high-level landlords to finish fighting, then stole some energy stones. He's just a mouse, yet he's so arrogant. When Yanko saw the ID card in Noan's hand, his face regained its usual confidence and disdain. How funny. Kid, do you think you're so cool? Rank F. Fuck. Do you believe that one of my soldiers is enough to destroy your territory? Yanko spoke as he took out a red card. He was so arrogant that his nose seemed to be bulging. Look carefully. This is a Rank B Lord card. It's Rank B, The crowd around also laughed at Noah. That's right. That guy is a B rank landlord. And you? What rank are you? F rank. Look. A rank F wants to compare with a rank B. Lilia gritted her teeth, grabbed Noan's hand, and pulled him away. However, the crowd did not give way, as if they wanted them to stay in this place. Little girl, a middle-aged woman, wearing a bit of heavy makeup, spoke up at this moment. You are very beautiful. Don't waste your beauty. This useless brat, although he is a landlord, is only an F-rank landlord. Look at that handsome young man. That's right, that guy is rank B. What about this brat? Rank F. Sorry, even an office worker has a better life than him. Fuck, I don't know how long it's been since I've seen an F-rank lord. I think we should put him in the zoo. That's right, at the zoo, people will be finally able to see an F-rank landlord. You guys, Lilia was so angry that her face turned red. However, Noan just sighed and said so. Yankos, do you dare to bet with me? Yankos heard this and smirked, his face showing disdain as if he was looking at a lowly insect. Bet? What do you want to bet? There will be a competition for new recruits in a week, the first round. Lords with low ranks can choose their opponents. Noan calmly said, At that time, I will choose you. If you win, I will be your dog. You can do whatever you want to me. If you lose from now on, you must call me daddy, okay? Yankos suddenly laughed crazily. Did you hear what he just said? The crowd around also laughed. They all found this situation hilarious, as if this was a very funny story. Lilia stood beside Noan, immediately grabbed his hand, and hurriedly said, Are you crazy? He is a B-rank landlord. You can't go against him. Noan pretended not to hear what she said, his eyes still fixed on Yanko's. Yanko's laughed for a while. He laughed so hard that tears came out. The female receptionist beside him also laughed. She held her stomach to calm herself as she laughed. After a while, Yanko's took a deep breath, tried to suppress his laughter, looked at Noah, and said, "Good. But what if you don't choose me as your opponent at that time? If that's the case, I accept any punishment. However, I need someone to testify for me," Noan said softly, as if this was a completely normal matter. "Good." Yanko smiled grimly. "Everyone here probably used their phones to record what happened, right?" "Aye. Yanko's, if this brat dares to choose me as his opponent, I will give his family 10 million credits for his funeral expenses. Ha. You?" Lilia was angry. Her previously mischievous eyes were now filled with cold, murderous intent. But Noah reached out, stopping her words. "So what if I win?" "If you win," Yanko's pointed his finger at Noan, smiling contemptuously. "Do you have a chance to win against me? All right, according to your wish, if you win, I will kneel down and call you daddy. Every time I see you, I will call you daddy." Noan smirked. "Good. You guys can post this video on the internet as evidence. See you in a week." A week later, Yanko's laughed ferociously. "Hopefully a week is enough time for you to write a will. Ha." Lilia couldn't hold back anymore and pulled Noah away. The crowd no longer kept them here, allowing them to leave easily. Outside, in a deserted and gloomy alley, Lilia let go of Noan's hand, then looked straight at his face and shouted, "Are you crazy?" Lilia's voice and warm breath blew straight into his face. Her mischievous face was now filled with not only anger, but more than that, worry. Noan forced a smile. Anyway, that's the only way for us to get out of there. Otherwise, I'm afraid the crowd won't let us leave easily." Lilia gritted her teeth. "But don't worry. If I can survive in the singularity, then I have a way to defeat him." Seeing Noan so confident, Lilia seemed to think that he didn't know how terrifying a Rank B landlord was, so she explained. "Are you stupid? Do you know how big the difference is between F rank and B rank?" Noan scratched his head, his expression a bit confused. He naturally knew the difference. However, he needed a real opponent to be able to see the difference clearly. He is at the singularity, death and danger surround him, forcing him to strive to become stronger. But he still needs an enemy who always reminds him that he needs to become stronger. If he had no enemies, he would be too relaxed. Seeing Noan stuttering, Lilia angrily shouted, "Are you stupid? Do you know what kind of soldiers and heroes Yanko's possesses? His soldiers are earth spirits. Both their defense and attack are extremely powerful, especially their defense. Thanks to his soldiers, 200 zombies couldn't break through that defense. His hero is a B rank elf with extremely powerful ranged attacks. He is both defense and offense. What do you have to defeat him?" Noan heard that and nodded slightly, not afraid at all. On the contrary, his eyes showed a strong will. "Don't worry, I definitely won't give up so easily." "You?" Looking at Noan, Lilia was so angry that she wanted to scold him, but in the end she had to swallow her words. She sighed, her face suddenly sad. "All right, this happened because of me, so I will take responsibility. I will help you defeat him." "No need, you." "Shut up." Lilia pouted and said, "I have made up my mind. You can't change my mind." After saying that, she hurriedly caught a taxi. Before leaving, she did not forget to tell him, "Noan, you still owe me a meal. I will find a way to help you. During this time, you should try to level up. Understand?" Noan sighed, watching the car leave, feeling a little funny. Looks like she's really enthusiastic, he thought to himself. He sighed, decided to find a place to have lunch, then settle the debt he was carrying on his back. In the taxi, Lilia frowned, her expression completely different from before. The cold, murderous aura made the driver jump in fear. "Noan, don't worry. No one will be able to threaten you. I will definitely protect you," Lilia thought as she recalled the memories of the past, her face suddenly showing a happy smile.